Ugh. Are we live? Guys, do me a favor. As you guys come down into the building, leave a 1 down into the chat room so I know that you guys can hear and or see me abundantly. Shit, am I on the right channel? Oh, shit. I think I am. There we go. We got a whole bunch of chats that's coming down up in there. Shout out to everybody that's coming down into the building. I was just on my other channel testing to see if this worked. I just got my laptop back not too long ago. So we got to get these live streams back active, all right? Listen, at the end of the day, you're going to be hit with a bunch of shit within your life, and it's not about letting the shit hit you and then failing within that and just saying, boom, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm just going to settle here within my L. It's about figuring out how you can move around it. You know what I mean? Not having my laptop over the last month has significantly hampered my progress, but we back down up in here. I just got the bad boy back. It's all looking all shiny and spanking new. So we're going to get in there. We're going to get active. Shout out to everybody that's coming down into the building. We got a little live stream for you on this beautiful Sunday evening. What the hell? I see you. Momo, I see you. Listen, don't put no 5 down up in there. Clyde, I see you. Tay-Tay, the GOAT. What's up, MTR Tay-Tay? I see you, my G. Shout out to the family. Morgan, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Smitty's Corner, just here to smash the like button. No, Smitty, get back over here and be ready to listen to the content. Got fantastic debate that I wanted to go over with you guys, all right? But I'll let you guys continue to flood it, and then we're going to get active as best as what we can. And guys, let me know as well, do you guys enjoy these live streams where I go over debates? I think that is particularly beneficial within the space because I think I try not to be as biased as what I can. Obviously, we're all human beings. We're going to have biases regarding shit, But I try not to be as biased as what I can in order to give you guys as much value as what I can of the things that I see going on within, whether it be modern dating culture, this gender war that, some say is happening, some say is not as happening. You know what I mean? Just all of these different topics, right? So I think it's beneficial and value add to go over these different discussions. So we can all have a meeting of the minds and throw up the content in a way to understand what does this all mean to me within my life. So that going forward, the results that I try to go for are much more readily accessible to me from the decisions that I'm making. Shout out to everybody that's coming down to the building. Remember Zook Coin. Oh, shout out to Flat Kush 6. Yo, that was back when my channel was MTR for real. All right, yeah. Back in the day, I had a crypto channel. It was Mediocre Tourism Reviews. It was a crypto channel, and that's one of the cryptos that I was following, which was Zook Coin. This is back in 2017. Those videos are no longer active on my channel. So anyway, guys, let me set up this conversation as folks are coming down into the building. Hold on, I'm thirsty. Listen, you got to get you a power shake at the end of the day. You know what I mean? I just got my blood test back. And, gents, listen, make sure that you guys are getting your physicals. Make sure you're getting your blood work. Make sure that you guys are doing your physicals. Like you already know, a year and some change ago, I had the whole cancer scare. Unless I was actively, I had insurance and I was actively had a PCP, a primary care provider, then I wouldn't have known this shit. And my reality today might have been a lot different unless I go out and get checked for these different ailments. Anyway, my cholesterol is high. It's been high my entire life. So your boy is drinking shakes throughout the day, Anyway, guys, let's get into this conversation right now. It's a rather long conversation. I don't know how long I'll be able to get into this particular live stream. It's 3 hours in length. Nevertheless, I think that it's important to go over the things that they are talking about. Now, I have not seen the entire thing. I've only seen a snippet of it, and I was like, oh, this would be dope to just be able to talk about. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the debaters, with the players within this, truth be told, one of them I'm not familiar with at all, but I'll get into who I am a little bit familiar with, which is Destiny. I did a video about a week or so ago. It was Destiny versus Fresh and Fit, and I'm saying versus, it really wasn't a versus, but they were just talking about the particular points within a conversation, and I want to say the conversation was specific to does Fresh and Fit estimate or over embellish kind of how bad that the modern women are today. And he was comparing himself within it and just saying that, well, you know, I can get like 1 or 2 girls per month and look at me. You know what I mean? It was a very funny reaction. Go take a look. It was about a week and a half ago, maybe actually 2 weeks ago. So I've gone over content regarding him, and I like him on the Fresh and Fit podcast because he's a completely different dichotomy or completely different talking points within that space. And I think once you bring different talking points and people who are knowledgeable about those specific talking points within the space, you can often get like a better discussion, right? Because you're not just at the surface level shit, the if this, then that shit. You can go to another layer because you're both familiar with it. You can have much more intense conversations. And as well as I've seen a couple of his other clips as well. I just think he's a smart guy, even though I don't agree with 100% of the things that he says. But he's a smart guy, and he's good at debating for sure. On the flip side of the coin, the other brother, his name is Angryman, and I am not familiar with him. However, I have heard his name before, and I heard it in the context of being one of the progenitors of the Black Manosphere. Okay, there was like O'Shea Duke Jackson, Obsidian, and then this brother right here, Angryman. But as far as from a content perspective, I have not seen any of his content before. Nevertheless, let's just pull this up on the screen and just let's get active. All right, blue hair, blue red flag. Shout out, my brother. Let's bring this up right now. All right, I think let's just go. All right, so the beginning of the stream, okay, was kind of the setup, and I want to say it starts like around here. All right, let's get active.
Complicated. All right, here we go.
Angryman has been in your chat plenty of times and have super chatted. Oh, shit, no disrespect to the brother then. I have not seen it. But shout out to the brother. I didn't know that, actually. If you're telling the truth, I'd be getting so many trolls that's down into the chat. Anyway, let's keep going.
All right.
Throw a like button.
Hear me?
Yeah, hey, what's up, buddy?
What's going on?
Nothing much, just chilling.
So, what was I crying about yesterday?
I don't even remember, to be honest. Came in screaming over something.
Wait, he came in screaming?
Well, actually,
Or is he exaggerating?
first there's like, what was your position yesterday? You obviously came through the Bernard Riley show.
Shout out to Bernard Riley.
And had issue, I guess, with something he said, or you had debated Myron or something, and your position was that women have evolved and men are stuck in the past. That was your position?
In regards to like who needs to do what for like in the broadest sense, red pill people seem to give advice about how men and women operate and like what they need to do to succeed, what men need to do to succeed. And I tend to disagree with a lot of the framing. And part of it plays into kind of what you just said, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so what part of the framing do you have a disagreement about?
I feel like men need to work a lot more on relationship skills. That is something that they just don't have much practice with. And it feels like for red pill communities, the obsession is like just be more traditional or become a top 1%er, which is advice for like 1% of the population. I don't think it's like a road to success for most people.
Okay, well,
And this is one of the top issues within the space, and this is what I tell you guys, is that there's not like a rule book. When you say the word red pill, I find it easy for people that, you know, don't understand what it is in order to try to counteract that point and naming different portions of different content creators in order to prove their point. Okay, within these conversations, I think that it's keen to understand the different tactics or the definitions that they use in order to try to make their points more salient. Shout out to the Angryman for the $10 super chat. Did not know you weren't familiar with me. It's all good. I appreciate the exposure through this review. Shout out, my brother. I appreciate the $10 super chat. I saw a component of this conversation. I was like, oh, I got to go in here. I like what you guys were talking about. All right. Appreciate you, boss. All right, let's keep going.
I would say that nowadays, most people don't really have good relationship skills.
Yeah.
Not just men.
Okay.
I like what he did right there because he's true. He's right? Because a lot of the internet culture just paints a bad picture on men. And listen, you guys, you don't understand. Even on my channel, I get people that come in and call me incel. Like at the end of it's like absolutely ridiculous. So I think that the idea of putting it towards that it could be on both sides of the coin was a smart thing to do. Let's keep rocking.
I think it. I mean, I would disagree. Do you want to talk about that or?
Well, no, I really wanted to debate you about what we were talking about yesterday, as far as this whole concept, because correct me if I'm wrong, you have this concept that women have evolved and improved and made these changes and these leaps and bounds, and they kind of have just left men in the dust, right?
A little bit, yeah.
So how would you, how? I'm trying to understand.
Okay.
So I think that for a long time, the world was kind of like built by and built for men's existence. And over the past, I don't know what, 30, 40, 50 years, especially over the past like 20 years, women have been getting a lot of help or pushing in different ways in society to achieve and succeed and do better.
Correct.
And it was previously thought that like, well, women can't attain educational levels similar to men. There are a lot of things that men can do that women can't do. And we're starting to see that given a push, women are able to do a lot of these things. So we're seeing women right now, they're destroying men in school. And what we might be learning is it might be that women's brains, they're actually just better learners than men.
Oh,
and men might be like more physically oriented. We want to go outside, we want to do things or build things and stuff like that. Whereas women are more calm, chill. They can sit in a classroom, take notes and do.
I'm sorry. Did I just hear him say that?
Brains, they're actually just better learners than men. That men might be like more physically oriented. We want to go outside, we want to do things or build things and stuff like that. Whereas women are more calm, chill. They can sit in a classroom, take notes and do class all day, right? If that's the case, then we're kind of like setting women up for success better than we are even setting men up for success. And it's hard to have a conversation about what to do to like make men successful. So
essentially what he's saying is that because of, I think what he's saying is that women do not, or women learn better because of what they're naturally good at versus men. It's more difficult for them to learn because the way that the education system is set up, it's not meant to deal with the precarious nature of a young boy, right? A young, spirited, full of life, full of energy young boy that just wants to get out of the classroom and just go work and just go move and just go do things with his body, as opposed to women or little girls are a little bit more capable and able to do that. But I think that's an interesting position for him to bring up. But let's just
as women have kind of like improved their lot and standing in society through things like school, reproductive control, better career opportunities, men are kind of like sitting here like, well, fuck, what am I supposed to do? People have cried about toxic masculinity for 2 decades. A job is not enough to secure a wife anymore. I have no idea what to do or where to go to in society. That seems to be like where guys are stuck at right now. And when I look at the red pill communities, it's just like a bunch of like what feels like women hating rhetoric, and then like appeals to tradition or appeals to try to become the top 1%.
My initial understanding of Destiny's talking points is that he has no identification with the struggle of the average man, or like no identification of the amount of push that a lot of women get, right? Like how much extra money is given to women within STEM fields than as opposed to men? How much extra money? I mean, I could bring up the numbers right here. We can go through it. But how much extra money is given to them, even though there's more men that are within STEM fields, or there's more men that are within a space to want to do STEM type occupations?
Like that's my issue. Like that's not good advice for anybody. Yeah.
Okay, well, there's a couple of things wrong with what you said. Number one, women are not blowing men out of the water when it comes to education. We've actually been lowering the standards for them to actually be able to achieve certain things. They've actually lowered the standards when it comes to a lot of the different studies. They've lowered the standards when it comes to the barrier to entry, when it comes to the military, numerous things. So it's not that women are blowing men out of the water, it's that we're catering to them, which we have always done. The men haven't really built the world for themselves. The majority of the inventions and the things that we've come up with in order to make life more comfortable for women.
Facts.
So it's not that they're blowing us
And
out
other
of the
men.
water, and it's not that the men actually have are stuck in a position. What men have found is they live in a world now where the focus has been on women and
Yes.
catering to women, while simultaneously ostracizing men and making them feel like they're not worth anything or they don't have any value.
Great talking
When men,
points.
by and large, still do many of the jobs that maintain the infrastructure of our society.
Yeah, and if they all went away, the entire world would crumble. The entire world will crumble. I find it so interesting that this conversation about education, right, like more education, even with that, men on average are still making more money than women, right? So the thought has to be within that education, what are they doing with it? What are they doing with that education? Education don't mean, education is just a goddamn bill unless you have results in your life with the education that you get. That should be you guys' goal. If you're thinking about going to college, what are you going to do with it? How many people just go to college and don't even think about, oh, well, how the fuck am I going to use this shit for? When I went into college, I had an intention. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do, but I knew about around where I wanted to utilize the degree for. If you go and you just get a college degree and you want to call yourself the most educated, what are you using it for? It's very important. Don't just go out there and just get bills in order to get bills.
Okay, so the part about lowering standards, I don't agree with that. I would have to look into it more, but my familiarity with lowering the standards is, I know that there has been research done for University of California schools, where for certain affirmative action programs, they would lower the standards to get more minority students, namely African American students, to enroll in these colleges.
Okay.
But when they lowered the standards there, what would happen is more of those students would apply and get accepted to the colleges, but the graduation rates and absolute numbers stayed the same. So they were getting into school, but then they were flunking out because the standards were lowered and they weren't able to attain the degree.
Okay.
So if they were lowering the standards and more women were getting accepted, but they weren't graduating, then I might agree with you, but that's not the case. We're talking about graduation rates right now. If the standards were lowered and that's what was allowing women to graduate more, then we would see men graduating at the same rates as they were before, but they aren't, right? Especially over the coronavirus period, a lot of men were expected to stay home and work, whereas women didn't have those same burdens placed on them. Also, women have a bit more available to them in the world of like affirmative action and kind of like assistance for women to go to school. You are seeing women, not just because the standards are lowered, but because society's pushing them in a direction. They are doing better in school. Like,
Well, here's
full stop,
the reality about that. You know, it's not that difficult to do better in school when you're taking gender studies or getting a degree in basket weaving. Or is that across the board in STEM, or is that across the board in gender studies and other things like that?
That's a good
Arbitrary
point.
stuff that really doesn't amount to anything. First of all, you have to realize that when it comes to education, the enrollment of men is down across the board anyway.
Yeah. All
Because
races.
like I said before, we live in a society now that is very hostile towards men. So there are a lot of different things that men don't want to be a part of anymore. They don't want to be a part of college, the college experience anymore.
Yeah, because it's anti-men when they go in there. You know, what's interesting is that, like, even in my institution, I was, like, young and blue pill as hell. You don't really understand how indoctrinated that you are until you experience different forms of information, right? You could pressure test that against, again, your results within life. Shout out to Al LaRoche. Men go into STEM and degrees that matter. Women go into social sciences, stuff that involves feelings. That's a fact. Let's keep it going.
For the fact that it's a hostile environment for them. Everything is about toxic masculinity and all of this crap. And let's be honest, the colleges are no longer institutions of higher learning. They've now become institutions of indoctrination with gender studies and all of this other crap that most men can't really identify with, especially if they're red-blooded American males.
Here's the thing as well. I appreciate his point, but on the same token, I think that there's a underpinning of going to college is not masculine, right? Like, and I think it dissuades a lot of men from even going down that path because they think that it's a weak option. And my response to that is you have to understand where you want to go in life. and understand, will college be something that you can leverage? And you don't just need a STEM degree to be successful. I know communication degrees that end up being investment bankers, 5 years out of college making $400,000 per year. So there's a lot more besides STEM for getting into school. Shout out to 8A Films. Mensa is 66% men, while only 34% are women. Shout out for that. Yeah, and let's talk about intelligence as well. What studies have shown is that men are on the extreme outliers of intelligence, right? Whereas women more take up the middle portion of the graph. I'll play this right now. I'll try to find that study as this plays.
They find this whole thing that's going on right now extremely hostile. And when you talk about women graduating, right? I don't know. I can't speak to the whole spectrum of women, but I do know when it comes to the black community, yes, black women are the most enrolled. And yes, they do graduate, but they usually graduate with some ridiculous degree that they don't even use. Not to mention the fact the women that actually do become entrepreneurs, 96% of their freaking businesses fail. So no, they're not outpacing men. They just live in a society that has stacked the deck against men and catered to them. Every single program that comes out now is for women.
Yeah, a lot are.
Okay, so
shout out to JP Morgan Chase, but this was like 2 years ago. Didn't they talk about, there was a study where there was like 50 billion, it was some billions of dollars, maybe like $10 billion that they were going to invest for black women, but not for black men, right? Where is that for black men? That needs to be considered. Because when you think about changing the tide, right, it's going to take money. It's going to take resources. It's going to take a lot more than just ignoring them.
I hear this argument is brought up a lot that women just get degrees in like basket weaving and gender studies. Do you sincerely believe that that's the majority types of degrees that women are getting? Or I'm just trying to figure out before I go down that road.
Yeah, we got to look at numbers for that.
So you believe most women, when they enroll in college, they go into STEM?
I didn't say STEM, but you know that there's more than just STEM and basket weaving. Right?
Okay, well, my thing is, and I've said this numerous times on my show, I think if you're not going into the STEM field, college is a waste of time and waste of money.
Okay, that's fine if that's your opinion, but one, that's not true.
I think that's an interesting point of the conversation right there. I think, oh shit, I just hit the wrong button. God damn it. Oh, let me go back there. LMTR is now into the chat.
In a disproportionate way and in a very sneaky, underhanded way. It's not like, okay, let's try this, right? Let's try this, because
did we get here yet?
I think your perception of red pill or the manosphere, totally agree with that. But the problem is your premise is that women are outpacing men. In order for women to outpace men, they would have to be outperforming them in the bare bones of our society, the things that make the structure run. That's the point that I was making yesterday.
Okay, I don't even know if we disagree. This might just be a semantics thing. Earlier, it sounded like you agreed with me that society has structured itself around accelerating women, and it seems to be doing a good job at that, and a lot of men are being left behind. Do you agree with that, or do you disagree with that?
I think you agree.
It is accelerating women, but in a very in a disproportionate way and in a very sneaky, underhanded way. It's not like, okay, let's try this, right? Let's try this, because I think your perception of red pill or the manosphere is that just everybody over here just hates women, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with women competing if they're actually competing. In other words, if the playing field is level. But what we have going on today is not a level playing field. We have a rigged game. We, on the one hand, we have people saying, okay, well, women are equal to men. Women are fully capable of doing what men do. You've even said a second ago that women, you kind of implied that women were smarter than men. So
hold on, maybe real quick. What I said was their biology might be better suited to the classroom.
For the classroom, yes.
It's better suited to following. That's the
I
reason
don't know
why.
if following is that's a stupid loaded term. Let's hold on, wait, let's be,
you're
no,
gonna
wait,
get. See, you're
hold on,
you're getting sensitive over terminology.
no. I'm not getting sensitive over time. I just want to be clear with their terms, okay? Here's fact number one. Most men are followers. Most men are not leaders, okay? So most people in general are followers. When I say that women are better suited towards learning, it seems to be the case that male bodies are just more in general suited towards activity. They want to be outside, they want to be doing things, they want to be building things. This is why all of our little boys are getting diagnosed with fucking ADHD, because sitting inside of a fucking classroom all day with your fucking head staring at a textbook and doing notes is agonizing to a lot of young men. That's just something that we're not built for as well. Whereas women don't mind. They are better at like being calm and being chill, being more cerebral, taking notes, studying, and doing that. That just seems to be a thing that their biology seems to be better suited for. I'm not saying one is a follower and one is a leader or one is smarter, or one is dumber. I'm just saying in the ways that we are, women seem better suited to classroom environments. That's what I'm saying.
First of all, we can't look. I'm not a leftist, so I'm not ultra sensitive when it comes to terminology. Okay? There are structures in our society that are very important that have leaders and have followers. Okay? Now,
true.
I will agree that the boys do not like sitting in a classroom all day. It's frustrating to them. But men are naturally more rebellious than women are. And the reason why is because men are not natural followers. Even if you have structures where men are following, why do you think in the military they have to have a boot camp?
Like a hierarchy.
Because those men have to be basically conditioned to follow properly because they are naturally rebellious. There's a reason why when girls are in school, they do better in school.
Yeah, there's a reason. I don't necessarily agree that it's the follower thing. I think men have more energy. I think you have to control men more. You know, if you look like in the military, there's hierarchies for a reason. Right, so you're saying that men are less equipped to be in the military because they are not followers. That logic doesn't hold up within that particular scenario. So I don't agree with Angryman right here. I more so agree with the way that Destiny is positioning this.
Because the way that structure is, they're given instructions, and we understand what the school system is. The school system was designed around the Prussian school system, which basically was created for the purpose of creating factory workers, created for the purpose of creating better soldiers, okay? People that are going to follow suit. That's exactly what the educational system is here in America, all right? So it's not an insult to say that women are followers. That's not an insult. It's just a reality. Men are not as prone to follow as women are.
I'm just saying that most people are followers.
That's true. Yeah,
we have to agree on that. It's like work only works if you have one manager and many employees. The army only works if you've got one general and many soldiers.
Marriage only works if you get the point.
A country only works if you've got one president and many constituents. Most people are followers. Society only works. That's why there's the whole phrase, too many chiefs and not enough Indians. You have to have followers in society, right?
That's true, but
even when we look at classrooms where we're saying like, oh, like women are better to following, and that's why they do better in classrooms. Who's teaching? Who's leading the classrooms? It's women. Isn't it like 95% of teachers are women?
But here's the thing. You just said something that gave validity to my point. Where do you think the term "there's too many chiefs and not enough Indians" comes from? The reason you have that term is because every time you have a group of men following another man, there's always a subset of men that's trying to overthrow that man. So no, they're not naturally followers. Men will follow until they're in a position to take over. The reason why most men follow is not because they're just like, well, I'm gonna, go with the flow. They follow because they don't have the power to take over who's ever in the position above them.
I think we're mixing arguments here. I think, yes, women are better at following, but then also at the same time, not all men are destined and desired to be leaders. Both can be true at the same time.
That's the reason why men do that.
I don't know where to move from here. I've had a lot of experience managing a lot of people across a diverse amount of, whether it's fucking video games, whether it's fucking business, whether it's organizing podcasts, whether it's watching people in society. Like most people gravitate towards following. Most men don't want the responsibility of being in charge of other people. Most men don't want the responsibility of taking on the negatives of an outcome of a decision that involves other people. That's just being in a leadership role.
No,
really
but they
difficult.
want the glory.
Yeah, but that's not being a leader. That doesn't count. Everybody wants it. That doesn't count.
But no, that's where that comes from. In order for you to get the accolades, the glory, to get the ego boost, every dude, even if they admit it or not, has had a desire to be that guy, to be the head guy.
Sure,
okay,
that's everybody can have a desire. That's fine. And if you want to say something like men have a desire to be leaders, that's fine. I would agree with you there. But men are not naturally leaders. Leadership is a skill that's crafted over time. So most people are not suited for it. And just wanting the glory of being a leader does not make you somebody.
No, but at the same time, I think much more men are have much more capabilities to be natural leaders than women do. Right? Like when you think about different personality traits such as competitiveness, aggression, the ability to not care if you are liked, right? The ability to forgo relationships, right? Like it ain't nothing more relationship crushing than having to fire people that you just had lunch with 2 weeks before, right? And I think like there's a lot of women out there that are more relationship based that would crush them. And but there's a lot more dudes out there that can just cut through the noise and just keep it rocking. But it sounds like they keep on switching the argument. Like, are you guys talking about who makes better leaders now?
Talking about you. Okay, so we're getting into look.
Also, shout out to the super chats that's coming in.
I'm not saying.
Shout out to Michael. Shout out to MTR and Angryman. Let's do a collab. Shout out to Ish Jordan, $5 super chat. Don't forget affirmative action. Women in STEM fields are more likely to get a job than men because of the diversity movement. That's also true. Shout out to Sugar Perez with the $5 super chat. Women dominate in STEM, but do they? Aren't most surgeons are men? I don't think anyone said that within this particular conversation. Let's keep going.
That every man that spawns has the ability to be freaking Julius Caesar. That's not what I'm saying.
That's not even what I'm saying, but all right.
Well, you're saying that, I'm assuming that you're saying that men naturally have the ability to be great leaders, right?
Well, all I'm saying is, broadly speaking, men and women have way more in common than they do separately from each other.
I totally disagree with that. I completely disagree with that.
When people try to draw these hardcore separations out of like men are leaders, women are followers, like these broad generalizations, they end up missing like most of the story, and they send people down really mindfucked paths that don't accurately describe the world, and then it leaves them ill-suited to succeed in the world. That's my problem.
Well, I mean, look, in a perfect world, that might actually be a reality. But we don't live in a perfect world. And I refuse to believe that we can circumvent hundreds of thousands of years of bioevolution with what, less than 100 years of a certain ideology? Like, really? So the entire civilization has gotten it wrong up until 50 years ago. Now all of a sudden, the new age way of thinking is the way we're supposed to do things. So
I don't know, when you say like gotten it wrong, I mean, like you want to talk about do you believe like in the nuclear family?
Yes.
Like that's a really new concept. Hundreds of thousands of years of bioevolution is us living together as groups of people like hunting for berries and like chasing animals down. That's what hundreds of thousands of years of bioevolution have gotten.
But that's what built up to it. That's what built up to it.
Okay, well then fine. Then I could just use the same argument and say, well, that's building up to this then.
That's a good point.
That's a great point.
But the problem with that is you can't really come from that position, because the way we are starting to do things now is totally the freaking opposite. And are we getting the results that we got with the previous things? Are we getting good results now? Because when I look around, as far as the interaction between men and women, the way I see it, when I look around at the interaction between men and women, there's something terribly wrong going on right now. For one, they've done studies. They've done studies that have proven not only women, but people in general
You know, I think is also interesting about this conversation is that I think when Angryman is speaking, I'm taking a guess, I'm not sure. I think he's speaking from the anchor of black culture. When Destiny is speaking, I don't know if he's speaking from the anchor of black culture. So I think sometimes their points can become like misaligned within it because there's a different basis of understanding or knowledge regarding it. But at the same time, I don't know how knowledgeable that Destiny is about black culture, but I would assume not a lot. Let's keep going.
The most unhappy that they've ever been in.
Shout out to Jalen Henderson for $5 super chat. Do you think we need more men in STEM or to do blue collar workers in trades? I'm a blue collar and I'm interested in STEM. The answer to that question is not. So my answer to this question is not predicated on what you should do. Again, I think that as men, we have to take a look at kind of where we are in life. What will give us much more happiness within life? Like me, for example, I couldn't do blue collar work. I couldn't do blue collar work. Shout out to all the blue collar. Listen, I extra tip y'all when y'all come through to the crib and I got shit broken and shit. I don't want to do any of it. My pops is actually a much more blue collar dude. He was a teacher, much more blue collar dude. My pops couldn't do the cubicle work. We're different within that. So I think you have to look within yourself and say, what can I see myself making a fantastic career off of? You understand what I'm saying? It's not for me. And it may not be for you, but you have to understand yourself first in order to derive what your purpose should be going into the future. Shout out to Jalen with the $5 super chat. Let go.
In the history of the world, specifically women. They've done numerous studies on this. So if this new age way of us doing things, this new progressive way, you know, because I'm a if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of guy. If this new age way of doing things is so freaking awesome, then why is everybody so miserable? Why do the men have such a high depression rate, a high deletion rate? Why are the women going to bed with a glass of wine? Why is everybody so unhappy?
Okay.
When we have more, we have the most, we live better today than we've ever lived in the history of the world, as far as, you know, our homes, as far as our the food that we can get and everything else. Our quality of life is way better than it was in the 1920s or the 1950s, but we're the most unhappy. What's the reason for that?
Let me try to answer this before they go in. I think a large component of this reason is that we are the most connected that we've ever been from a humanity perspective, but at the same time, we are the least connected. We're the least connected than we've ever been. Connection is not saying what up to your friends via text message. It's not. Our evolution is not based in being in digital. This shit is this on the timeline. I think because we lack so much human interaction, direct human interaction, I think that it leads to a laundry list of issues within our society. And on top of that, the technology accelerates so much negative things that we see. But at the end, but that also too, at the same time, there's plenty of awesome things with technology as well. I mean, think about it. I'm in my home right now, live streaming to you guys wherever y'all live in the world right now. So there's awesome things with it as well, but you have to have a degree of balance within your life. But when the dopamine hits, when the companies are creating these dopamine hits with these digital technologies at the rate that it is, like TikTok has changed the game. That's why I do compilations on the channel now. Because now I have to compete, not with YouTube, with TikTok and y'all short ass attention spans. There's something about sitting your ass down and just being present in the moment with people and loved ones around you, your community, your relationships that we don't have today like we used to have.
Okay. I think these are all really good questions. But I just want you to think of like what you're saying. People are unhappy. We live better than we've ever lived before, but we're still miserable. Why is everybody so miserable? Our quality of life is better, but we're still miserable. Why are we so unhappy? We are the most unhappy we've ever been, okay? Mm-hmm. The framing on all of this is that it seems like all of us have problems right now. It's not just a man versus woman thing. It's not just something happening on the male side or the female side. It seems like there is something that is pushing people in a miserable direction. Now, I have my thoughts and ideas on that. I think a lot of it has to do with the internet and especially cell phones. I I think the way that we engage with all of that stuff is destroying our
What up,
fucking
Destiny?
minds. We're putting screens in front of people at like 3 years old and like ADHDing the fuck out of them before they've even stepped foot inside of a classroom. I think that we are like watching more content, like scrolling our phones constantly. That's like destroying our brain's ability to get like happiness and enjoyment out of like normal things in life. I think that we have a really hard time seeing people in real life because we're replacing all of our real life connections with online Discord group chats and everything. I think that these are all like really good things to talk about and understand. But when all of this gets shoehorned into like, well, the reason why we're so miserable is because we've stepped away from like traditional like boy-girl relationships.
Nah, Destiny, you're missing a component of the conversation, yo. Because Destiny doesn't have access to the single ass aunties that all of us in the chat have had access to. You haven't had access to them. I see them. And it's sad. It's sad to see. I mean, that's what Kevin Samuels based his whole entire platform off of. He would describe it a lot differently than that. But Kevin was a proponent of putting relationships and putting people together. But I think that there's things, if you look at the divorce rate, the marriage rate, specific to the black community, if you look at these different things, the abortion rate, shit, in New York, they had more abortions than births in, I think it was 2021. That is a goddamn problem. There's something at the core, fundamentally, that is disrupted specific to melanated people. And that has to be able to be talked about. It has to be able to be talked about. So much so that like we got influences within our culture because there's so much of a it's dope to be independent, men ain't shit, and all this type of negativity that is infused within the culture. How do you say this? There's less of a guard. I mean, think about any other culture. What other cultures has a Cardi B? Like, what other cultures have a Nicki Minaj? What other cultures think that it's cool to not do good on test? What other cultures vilify the nerds? The lames.
I feel like now instead of talking about all of the other stuff that I think is having a negative impact on all of us, we get hyper fixated on some really silly man versus woman gender dynamic when there are issues.
Isn't Cardi B
facing
Dominican?
Every single person in society today that's making all of us fucking miserable. That's
Someone just said
issue,
Cardi B's not black.
Well, I don't disagree with any of that, but I'll add one caveat. It's not that it's just about the gender roles, but that is part of it. That's part of it. We can look. I can sit here all day and we can talk about the negative impact of social media, the negative impact of putting a freaking screen in a 2-year-old's face, the negative impact of every new age thing that we have that has given us information overload. We can talk about that all day, but we can't ignore the fact that when you start playing with the gender roles in any society, and this has been studied over and over, this is not the first time we've had a society or a civilization where we began to play with the gender roles and it wreaked havoc. It caused problems with us because that is something that is part of us, regardless. In fact, you even did it yesterday. You even did it yesterday when we were having that discussion, that was heightened discussion, but towards the end of that discussion, you said, well, who's going to watch the kid if he's out working? And you said a woman. Now, why would you say a woman unless you still have gender roles burned into your brain?
Okay, I'm not here to say that all gender roles should be abolished, right? So in the beginning part of this conversation, I made the argument that there are differences between men and women that leave them suited towards other things, right? That's why I said that women seem to be excelling in classroom environments. I think yesterday you asked me the question: if every man were to disappear from the planet, things would fall apart. If every woman were to disappear from the planet, things would carry on as normal, which isn't true.
Well, no, I didn't. Look.
Or maybe not carry on as normal, but society would still function or something.
Let me
right?
correct that. No, what I said was, look, this is what I said. I said, if women took a day off, not if they disappeared. I don't want to live in a world with no women. So let's just go ahead and get that clear. If they took a day off from their jobs And the reason why I say that is because women tend to stay away from a lot of the heavy lifting jobs. A lot of the jobs that are, I mean, sure, you'll find a woman that's an airline pilot. You'll find a woman that wants to do construction, but that is few and far between.
It's outliers.
If the men decided one day to just take a day off, the guys that work at nuclear power plants, the guys that fly planes, the guys that pick up our trash, the guys that do all of the things that make our world run, it would cause a serious problem. That's what I said.
Sure. So what we're saying is like men do backbone of society jobs and women do complementary work, basically, right?
Yeah. Yeah, more or less.
Yeah. But I think the important thing to recognize about that is the backbone jobs don't work without that complementary work. That's kind of what I'm saying, right? Like, let's say that a man, and this is why I used the family example yesterday, but it doesn't have to be a family example, it could be anything. But if men are off doing this backbone work, then you need somebody to take care of families. The only way that a man can go and do that work is if somebody can empower him to do it by staying home and taking care of, say, children, right? That's why I use that example. That even if men...
This argument is confusing me a bit because this assumes that men need a woman at home to go and do their job in the workplace, which I don't think is necessarily true. There's a lot of dudes that are single as hell that are killing their blue collar job. Shout out to Truth Hurts, $5 super chat for everyone. The thing that Destiny is saying, do you all think this will be the norm to 10 to 20 years, or do you think we can fix this? Shout out for the $5 super chat. Shout out to Salt. Let me see. What up, MTR? What's good, my G? We got 1.6K and not even 600 likes. We need 1K ASAP. Guys, hit on the like button. Helps with the algorithm. That helps MTR. Hit on the like. Takes 1 second. Guys, hit on the like button. Appreciate you, Salt. All right, let's keep going.
Are doing the backbone work, they can only do it because of the complementary job that exists where women are allowing it to happen, essentially. It's like having a supervisor for a restaurant. The supervisor isn't cooking and bussing tables in the front, but like the employees wouldn't be able to manage themselves without somebody kind of like working things in the back. I don't mean to say that like women lead men. I'm just saying that the roles complement each other.
Well, here's the thing about that, which I didn't get to say yesterday. Number one, my position is not that men can be totally independent of women. That's not my position. Human beings are interdependent. We're all dependent upon each other. However, when you start looking at the dynamic of men and how men operate, it is extremely plausible that a man can go out here in the world, be successful without the support of a woman. Now, if you look at it as a whole, then yeah, you might be able to make a few points where it's like, oh, well, women do this job or that job, and that job might be beneficial or whatever to what the men are doing. But the job, a lot of those complementary jobs that women are doing, men could do. Okay, women just recently, you said something about the nuclear family recently, right? Just recently, a new thing, which it is a new thing, right? I would argue that it probably, well, I'm not going to go into that. That being a new thing. Another new thing is women being in the workforce. That's fairly new. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, that's one of the ways that I think when I talk about women evolving, I think that's one of the things that's
okay, so guess what? Up to that point, we still had a functioning society. Up to that point, with the world still spun. Up to that point, we were still able to constantly improve. We were still able to get awesome inventions that have improved the human condition.
Yeah, but post women entering the workforce, our world is better now in a lot of ways than it was 80 years ago. Yeah.
Our world is better.
See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. So, post Jim Crow segregation, black families were the most married. So Destiny is comparing 80 years ago when the family unit was the strongest compared to today.
Better now because it's naturally progressing, but how many impactful inventions have we had since we moved into this age of let's promote women? How many inventions have we had that have been as impactful as the cotton gin, the printing press, the steam engine?
Like the microprocessor and the cell phone and the internet are probably two of the biggest inventions of human history.
You just got through saying that the cell phone is what's causing the biggest problems that's making us unhappy.
Sure, things can be used in bad ways. I mean, gunpowder was an amazing invention too, but it's mainly used to kill people. Are you asking me what the amazing inventions are? Or are you asking me the ones that make everybody feel better, right? Cell phones and computer architecture and the internet are like the biggest things that have accelerated everything in the world, like probably more than any other invention in human history.
And
More than
nobody's disagreeing with that. But
well, sure, but you asked me like, were
point,
there any big inventions since the cotton gin or whatever? Now that we've had
no,
women in the
what I
workplace, and I think
said,
that
no. What I said was,
Yeah, that was a good
what
point.
are the inventions
W
that
for
we've
Destiny.
had now that have been as impactful?
sure, and I would argue that like
changing.
cell phones and the internet have been some of the most impactful things ever.
They've
in all of
made
human
they've
history.
made an impact, but I wouldn't say the most impactful. There's no way that is
Oh,
as
I don't know about that.
impactful. Because if you look at the reason why I say this, if you
Wait,
look,
where are you from? Where do you live?
where do I live?
Yeah.
I live in North Carolina.
Yeah. Okay. My guess, I don't know what's about to happen, but I think Destiny might cook Angryman on the next point. No, the cell phone and the internet is some of the most impactful inventions that have been created to the history of man. I mean, I want to get into all the
Okay,
specifics.
I'm in
but
Miami.
That's
I'm
absolutely
talking to
true.
you in real time. Both of us can see each other's videos, and there's like 10 or 20,000 people, and there's gonna be hundreds of thousands of more that watch on a YouTube channel later on.
And
That
that's
type of
awesome.
reach and
I'm not
yeah, but
dis-
that type of reach and communication, dude, the printing
not-
press like would never.
I'm
yeah.
not discounting that. That's awesome. But look, here's the thing. When you have the printing press, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so you got the printing press. Cool. Now we can have books that are printed identically. We don't have to worry about people tampering with books, tampering with their information, right? However, the same way that somebody could use the printing press negatively, right? I would argue that yes,
To be honest, I'm a little bit confused why they're here because the internet and cell phones were not created by women. So what exactly are they comparing right here? It doesn't really make sense
the
to
way
me why
we
they're
can
going on this
communicate
tangent.
is awesome. We can reach a lot of people. But guess what? Any idiot can get up here and fire up a freaking live stream and just give the whole world a bunch of misinformation.
Yeah, but the idea that they can give in misinformation doesn't negate that it is an amazing thing to do, that you can connect people across geographies that would have never had the opportunity to be connected through the use of the
Right or
internet.
wrong. And then people will sit there and watch it because, like you said earlier, you got 2-year-olds that's got a screen in front of their face, right?
Mhm.
But a 2-year-old, if you wrote a book that was an extremely negative book, like I'm not gonna say that guy's name, but if you wrote a book that was extremely negative, you don't have to worry about. You could put it in front of a 2-year-old. He's not gonna be able to read it like that or even comprehend it. But if somebody's sitting up there on YouTube saying something crazy,
It's the same. Destiny kind of already dispelled this when he said that, guns were invented and people can use it to kill people or they can use it to protect themselves, right? It's the same type of argument. Just because the usage can be negative doesn't mean that it's any less impactful. By the way, shout out to Destiny and the Angryman of being able to go back and forth like this so we can hear their arguments. It's so often that I look at different panel discussions and they're just yelling and screaming at each other, right? I think the entertainment value, people find entertainment with it, but in terms of understanding their points, positions, and arguments, it doesn't do much value. Shout out to Bello Rings for the $2 super chat. MTR, there's a lag on your end, sir. Oh, I'm lagging behind the video?
and your kid,
Doesn't look like it's on my side.
parents are not paying attention and the kid is watching it, that's an extremely negative impact. So the reason why, when I'm saying impactful, I mean impactful in a way that is more beneficial to human society than negative. That's what I'm saying.
Do you think that the internet or cell phones have been more negative than positive?
It's part of the reason we're having so many
No.
difficulties right now.
Sure, I mean it might be part of it, but I mean like the more impactful and powerful the invention, the more good and the more bad it can do, right?
I agree to that.
Nuclear research, gives us amazing reactors that can produce a lot of energy relatively cleanly, and it also gives us atomic weapons that could maybe end the entire world, right? And I feel like cell phones and the internet are similar. I'm 34. You seem like an older guy, maybe, or like around my age, or maybe a little older. But like, I remember growing up, like if you asked somebody a question about anything, you had to pull out the fucking Encyclopedia Britannica to like look up an answer. And now you have like the world's information is at your fingertips. That's
But
an
I think-
unbelievably
but when-
crazy advance in technology, right? Like that's the.
But don't you think that I actually liked reading my Encyclopedia Britannicas? Don't you
Oh, hell no. Yo, Angryman, you just didn't just say that, my brother. Oh, fuck that Encyclopedia Britannica shit. Dog, my aunt, someone in my family, might have been like my great aunt, she bought me like, God damn, it had to be like 40 books, or like she didn't buy them, but she had them like passed down to her. 40 Britannicas that were like this thick each. So if you had to look something up, you have to go in the books. Did I ever look up? No, they were like stored off in the garage or something like that. But nah, fuck that encyclopedia. Are you serious? Between now? Yo, dog, back in the goddamn day, I remember having debates with people, like as a young MTR, and then like you wouldn't be able to find out the answer. Now you could just Google the answer. You know how many goddamn lunchtime brawls have been initiated because of some shit that is solved through Google today? I'm like, come on, now I can't beg. I'm a little bit surprised by what Angryman says this as well, because I would assume Angryman is a little bit older than me. And so he's been around from before the internet. So to say this and also to be an internet personality, which means that you cannot do this without the internet. You can't make the money that you are in this particular fashion without the internet. It feels like he's like holding on to an argument that he might know that he's losing, but he's trying to find points and positions within it in order to try to
I think that's
make it
a little more organic.
Dub.
Don't you think that?
Listen, at the same junction, let me also say this. That I would not want to go, although there's so many negative things with the internet today that people can utilize it for, I would never want to go back to a place without the internet. Shit, the other day I was trying to look for some place to go, and I'm thinking like, yo, if it wasn't for this, I'd be out on the street. If it wasn't for GPS, I'd be out on the street asking people, how do I get to such and such place, right? The fact that I could just put it in my phone and just go is a modern marvel.
Don't you think that it's more valuable when you actually have to search for the knowledge as opposed to someone just Googling it and not knowing for sure if it's accurate?
Maybe it could be, or there might be a lot of people that just don't do the search at all because they either don't have the books. Because if you had one of those sets of Encyclopedia Britannicas, you're paying like a lot of money for a good set of them, and then a lot of people just end up not knowing.
I'll give you that.
Not to like go too deep into this, but just circling back, like because you asked me what are like really impactful things. There've been really
It's a great
impactful
conversation.
things. We landed on the moon. We've got nuclear weapons. We've got the internet. I agree that these things can be good or bad. I'm just saying that they're impactful. It's like when Time chooses a person of the year. You know, like sometimes it's a really bad person, sometimes it's a good person. It's people that are impactful. When I look at like the big differences that women have right now compared to like 30 years ago, or maybe 60, 70 years ago, the two big things that have changed for women are like college and work, and then reproduction.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those are like the two huge. Those are like 95% of what has changed women. And then like 5% can be like Instagram, social media, Kim Kardashian, whatever. But I think those two things have been huge because it's allowed women to put off having children by using birth control or whatever. And it's allowed.
Hold on a second. I keep on seeing that. Am I still delayed, guys? Put a one down in the chat if I'm still delayed. Hold on. Let me try to reset this. Okay. It's a lot of ones. Wait, hold on. Test. All right. Am I good? Am I good? Let me know. Good now? Okay. There we go. New computer, still working out the kinks. Guys, do me a favor and throw a like on the video, all right? I appreciate you guys coming down up in here on this Sunday afternoon, all right? This was not planned or nothing like that, but I figured why don't we just spend some quality time together? You know what I'm saying? I missed you guys, all right? I miss you guys. Put a one down into the chat. I wholeheartedly appreciate you guys. Continue to support the stream, and let's get back in there.
Women to live independently from men. They don't have to marry somebody to find a job. And when I look at these two things, I don't think these things are going away. We're not getting rid of birth control, and we're not removing women from work or from school. So given that, and at Red Pill I say this all the time, right? We can't think of an idealized world. We've got to look at the world we live in. If that's the world we live in, then I don't think it's enough to tell men that you should just be a top 1%er and then you're going to get a woman, right? You have to find a way to adapt to the world we're in, where women have changed significantly in the past 30 or 40 years.
Yeah.
So that's why I talk from that frame of reference. Women.
Yeah, but Destiny, I think that frame of reference, at least that's the frame of reference that I speak from, which is why, again, is the issue with blanket statement saying this is what red pill dudes talk about without getting into the intricacies of what it is that they actually are saying up out of their mouths, up on their platforms. Because I agree with what he just said.
Are educated. Women do have birth control. So if you want to get a woman, you've got to work harder for it now. Whereas in the past, all you had to do was like just actually work a job and you'd be basically guaranteed a wife.
See, and again, the component of the conversations that he misses out on is women's role in it. Just because women are altering doesn't mean that they're altering for good. I mean, we go over the content time and time again regarding the modern woman and the implications of the ideologies that they believe in through the leftist media that has completely lied to them for decades on end, which is creating a army of single-ass aunties going into the future. So can it not be that there cannot be a course correction on both sides of the coin? Can we not both get better? Why is it solely on men to just get up to speed and understand the things that they have to do in order to get better? Can it not be on both?
Well, no, it's not. To me, and this is just my opinion. This is not going to be popular with everybody, but in my opinion, it's not about the men being top 1%ers. It's not even about taking away what women already have. Like, you can't put the cat back in the bag. That's not going to happen. My thing is, it's about carrying on a tradition of what you know works. I feel like in this day and age, we're just on this
making new shit up
mission to dismantle everything that came before us, even if it worked.
I mean, so I don't necessarily disagree with you. So progressives or people really far on the left have a habit of wanting to dismantle everything without asking why it was the way that it was, right? So you'll have people on the left saying things like, oh, like gender roles are all fake. But it's like, okay, well, we've had like 10,000 years of them. Like, are they really that fake? So I agree with you that there are some traditions that, even if we don't carry them on, we at least need to understand like where they came from. But
sure,
the world is changing. Even the way that our traditions, show themselves in society changes. And I think that if you don't want to get left behind by the world, like you have to change along with it.
No,
like some things are probably here to stay. Like some type of gendered dynamic in society. Like men and women are different. We're never going to be the exact same. That's never going to happen. But
I don't like this argument from Destiny as if as things move, we always have to move within it. No. How about there was a time and a place where things work better? How about that there was structures or frameworks put into place of what a man and a woman should be that work better for family building, that work better for raising children, nuclear families? How about there's ways that you can do it better? And I think that the content that we push within this space begins to detail a framework that can work better. Let go.
Some things will change pretty dramatically, like maybe the way some of those gender roles play out or how dating plays out, and you either adapt or die. And that is the only thing you can do. Because like you said before, it's not going back in the box of women not having reproductive rights and of women not working jobs. Like that's not going to change. So you have to figure out a way moving forward as a man, I think.
Okay, well, let me ask you this.
Shout out to the super chats that's coming through. Khalif Beats, thank you so much for the $10 super chat, my G. Hope you and Destiny can have an actual conversation with each other one day. I think y'all will have a civil and respectful discourse without the BS. Yeah, sure, why not? Shout out to you, my brother. I appreciate that. Shout out to Pac-Man, $2 super chat. Riza Islam would have rolled Destiny in a backwood. I'm not sure who that is, but sure. Let's keep going.
While we're in this country, and the men in this country, the men in the West, are practicing this sort of new age of enlightenment.
Sure.
Would you say that men of other countries are doing the same, or would you say that they're pretty much sticking to the traditional construct of what a man is?
I think the West got here first, but I think other countries are slowly starting to go through the same processes that we did. Like we're just the trailblazers, but they're definitely following suit. So like if you go to like the Middle East, the men are going to be quite a bit more traditional. But like even in Saudi Arabia, as of a few years ago, women can drive. If you go to really older countries or places where the roles are a lot older, you're gonna find pretty traditional men. But you'll find that like their birth rates are dropping off. They're not having a ton of children because they're not all dying, to dysentery or some random shit. You will find that like the rest of the world is slowly following in our footsteps, and that seems to be a trend that's not going to change anywhere. Like I don't know any place that's like we are super successful and we have stuck with our traditional roles and nothing has changed. Like all the most successful countries have been moving in this direction, and I can't think of any like counterexamples to that.
Well, the thing about it is there are countries that, I'm pretty sure you pay attention to politics. There are countries that have made it a point to make for certain that they don't have certain things on their television shows and they don't have certain literature and things of that nature. What
Angryman, I like where you're about to go with this. I really, because it's we're thinking on the same wavelength, my brother. Because I think that it's easy to say that all the other countries are catching up, but I think it's more tactical than that. You have to get into specific examples of certain things that are being touted as good, that are being touted as liberation and being free and doing what you want and my truth and all that type of shit like that. You have to get down specific and combat those different points in the construct or the framework that he just set up. Because it's a good point. Because what I was actually thinking too is his earlier point around polygamy and the idea that, all of these nations from our past have been polygamous in nature, but you have the West, which is monogamous in nature. And if you look at most well-developed societies, they follow monogamy as a structure as opposed to polygamy. Just think about it for a quick second. And there's reasons for that. I'm not going to get down deep into it. I want to bring the conversation somewhere else completely. Shout out to Brother Padat, $20 super chat. Is it that women no longer need men, or is it the illusion of them no longer needing men? Due to technology and complete equality under the law, no vocational and educational barrier exists outside of biology, right? Shout out to Brother Padat for the $20 super chat. Listen, I got the best damn YouTube audience on the land. Y'all some smart brothers that's down up in here. Shout out to Wits End in the building. $20 super chat. I believe in tradition, ways of old, and I won't even go into Pan-Africanism, etc. All I know is we as a people need to get our together, i.e. unifying brothers, sisters, hub, wifey, etc. Effing, etc. I can't disagree with you, my G. At the end of the day, we got to continue to attack all of the loser men and as well as all the delusional, unrealistic women. I mean, it's on both sides of the coin. All right, let go.
But what I see, in my personal opinion, I see China, I see Russia, I see India making it a point to make sure that they continue to raise traditional men. And when I say traditional men, I mean the more, for lack of a better phrase, the John Wayne, no nonsense type of guy. And I believe that they're doing that so that they can actually build stronger militaries. So I'll pose the question to you that I asked the guy last night that came onto my show. Do you think that the 18-year-olds of our country would be able to storm the beaches of Normandy today?
Yeah, it's a good question to ask, but that's not our reality today. So there are some people that might say that, the feminization of men won't really affect the military because right now military fights are waged not on the ground as what they used to be, right? So do you need those same numbers when you have ballistic missiles and atomic bombs at your disposal? Shout out to Wits End again with a $25 super chat. P.S. on target. Shout out, my brother. I appreciate the love, the support, as well as the respect. Let's see what he says, though.
If they had to, I think you can. I feel like the circumstances.
Wars are different now. Our technology is better. Shout out.
I think that when you think of like an average 18-year-old today, you think of a guy with blue hair that's like crying on a college campus because he got triggered by something or something.
How ironic,
yeah,
Destiny.
I'm sure like a lot of people think that, but I think that like if our country were under legitimate threat, or if we had to go and like fight somewhere, like we could do it, right? I mean, like, compare, for instance, like Russia's invasion into Ukraine, which has been a disaster for Russia. Compare that to our invasion into Iraq. Now, whether you agree
Yeah,
or
it's
disagree
a
with
lot
that
different.
invasion, okay, I'm pretty sure fucking Saddam was gone in like 2 fucking weeks.
No
So, like, we can
comment.
say, like, yeah, like,
No
okay,
comment.
well, okay, sure. But we can say that, like, okay, well, our people are weak, but like when our military has to do shit, like shit gets done,
They
like
get it
very
done.
fucking quickly.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is on the backs of like technological improvement and the sophistication of our military today. Like we don't need, I mean, like in a way, that's a good example you bring up because like we don't need people to storm a beach and run in and just get mowed down by machine guns anymore. Like the world has evolved. I don't know if you watch like that combat footage subreddit, but Jesus Christ, people are fucking flying around drones today, just like dropping grenades onto people and killing them. Like it's insane.
Yeah, it's a
how
lot
much
different
technology
today.
has changed for all of that. I think that when you look at places like China and India, I had a guy talk to me about this recently because he got really mad because somebody brought up a similar point that like, oh no, China is very traditional. I think that when you are stuck in like a very developing area and all you can do is like eat, sleep, work, and that's all you've got, then yeah, you're not going to have many like people aren't going to be talking about like transgender people when they're just trying to fucking survive, right? You're not going to see marches for LGBT rights in in fucking in places where the people are
Kuwait.
struggling just to get enough food on the table. I agree with you there. But as places in India and China have gotten more successful, as their median incomes have grown, there is a lot of social dissatisfaction in some of these places, whether it's pushing for more gay people to be represented in areas, or whether it's pushing for, right now, it's usually representation of government. But there's like this hierarchy of stuff you push for, where like if you're developing, you're fighting for like, I need fucking food and water. Then it's like, I need good job opportunities. Then it's like, I need representation of my government. I don't want to live in a fucking authoritarian regime. And then once you've got that shit out of the way, then it's like, okay, I think that women should have more rights. I want to talk about LGBT issues. But like when you're still working on that like foundational shit, yeah, you're not going to see much in the terms of like what we fight about for social issues in the West, right? But I mean, to some extent, I think that's a marker of our progress. Like in some ways, it's really annoying when somebody goes on Twitter and they're like, I encountered a lot of sexism today because like somebody called me a bitch. But in other ways, it's actually really cool because it's like, okay, cool. Well, you in your mind, really bad sexism is somebody calling you a bitch. That's a mark of progress, in my opinion, because it means there's a whole bunch more sexism that you're not experiencing that people in the past did.
Well, I'm not. I'm a traditional guy, so I'm not really into the progressive stuff and all of that because I feel like when we get to the point where we allow like human beings having a imagination is awesome, but I feel like sometimes we've become so successful. It's kind of like what Bane said in The Dark Knight. Success has defeated us. Like I feel like we start going into, when you start looking at intersectionalism, which I don't want to get into a huge debate about that, because I don't want to get I guess canceled. But when you look at intersectionalism, the reason why there's so much conflict there, the reason why there's so much conflict in this country when you have these discussions and these debates and stuff is because we're starting to get off into the weeds with certain ideas and certain ideologies. And it would be one thing if people lived their lives and didn't try to force their lifestyle or force their ideology onto everyone. But that's exactly what we live in nowadays. In fact, we live in a society now where if you're a traditional person, if you believe in certain things, like let's say for argument's sake that you're a religious person, let's say that you're a Christian, let's say that you believe in the nuclear family, let's say that you believe in just being a regular guy with a regular wife and children, you're under attack today by all of the people that are like, oh, you're old fashioned and that's not progressive. And we have to be understanding of this group and that group. You're literally under attack. Like most men that are traditional men are constantly getting a finger wagged in their face. That's the reason why the whole red pill concept and, the manosphere, whether it's the white one or the black one, that's the entire reason it exists, because men feel that they're being marginalized, ostracized from society, and treated like they're just
and not represented,
innately toxic.
Yeah.
And that's wrong.
I want to see his response to this.
Again, there are a lot of things that you're agreeing with, or that you're saying that I agree with. I just don't think that they're that gendered. When you talk about like getting off into the weeds with certain ideologies and attacking people for not believing in the right things, I think we do have a big problem with that today in society. I think a lot of it comes from the left kind of having their thumbs on a lot of the levers of cultural power.
Yeah.
But I don't think that,
Entertainment.
I just don't think it's like a gendered thing. That's like a political, ideologically driven thing. Now, when you talk about like men are traditional men and they're getting fingers wagged in their faces, I don't agree with that. I don't think that's happening. I feel like people mix up a lot of the toxic aspects of red pill shit with like traditional things. If you're a good guy, you're working a good job, you go to church, and you're looking for like a traditional partner, you've got your shit handled, I don't think anybody's wagging their finger at you. In fact, because I've talked to a lot of conservative women, I think conservative women are dying to find men like that. But oftentimes, one of the biggest complaints that I hear, and I know men have the loudest voices online, so you hear about like all the whores and sluts and blah, blah, blah. When I talk to traditional women or conservative women, their complaints are always like, I have no fucking idea where you can ever find a good conservative man. They don't exist. It's a bunch of schizoid young men that sit in their basements, play computer games all day, and fantasize about like having a harem of 50 women they fuck, like the guys on Fresh and Fit tell them to do, right? Like I don't feel like places in the manosphere are producing these factories of like good, positive, solid young men that are like good conservative men because their engagement with religion is really bad. Look at fucking I don't want to go down that whole Andrew Tate road if you don't want to, but like Andrew Tate coming out as Islamic after fucking running a casino and a cam business is like the two biggest, most haram fucking things you can do in Islam, right? Or like a lot of these guys saying we need to embrace more like Christian values while telling you to have one-ended open relationships where you're fucking younger and younger women every year. I don't think that these are the centers of society that are going to be creating the like the traditional conservative man of tomorrow. It's just like the new marketing ploy that's being sold. And then all these guys that are falling into this shit, I call it OnlyFans for men, because it's just like it's rotting and destroying their minds, thinking that, or leading them into thinking they're going to be something that they're never going to be. And it's not preparing them for the future and in a way that I think a conservative person would be.
Well, I can't really speak for the whole space, but I do know that the vast majority of the guys that watch my show on a regular basis are those traditional type guys. Now, granted, a lot of them are already married, a lot of them are already in relationships, but what they find is here's the issue that they find. Let me break it down for you. What's happening is when they go out into the world and attempt to live a traditional life, they're constantly being told, these guys are constantly, meeting barriers, trying to live a traditional life. Now, when they go out here, I don't know where these conservative, traditional women that you're talking about are. I don't know where they congregate, but these are the complaints that guys give to me, that they have so much difficulty finding these type of women, especially in Black culture. In Black culture, we have an issue where there's this culture of promiscuity,
backwardsness.
There's this culture of the slut
backwards.
walk and all of those different type of things, where every single woman they encounter is part of the sexual revolution. So they're gonna be a little more free sexually.
Something that Destiny said that I think probably needs proper dissection is he said that this is OnlyFans for men. And I think that does such a disservice and it discredits so much of the content creators that spend so much of their time creating content to try to help men. I don't think that's necessarily a fair assessment of the entire space. Could it be a fair assessment of some portions of the spaces? Yeah, for sure. But I don't think that it's a fair assessment. I think that it's, those on the top, or those that he looks at, are those that he's talking about. But I don't think that it's a fair assessment. There's so many people that are down up into the space that genuinely want to help, that genuinely care. So when you look at OnlyFans, what benefits does OnlyFans have? Like, what benefit? So you're saying that all of the content in the space does not benefit men? When men Google, why did she break up with me? And she comes over and she finds like an AMS, and he finds like an AMS video. Shout out to AMS. And then they get the game from AMS. When they see a debate that's happening up on CNN or something like that, and you just feel somewhere deep down in your spirit that the points that are made are not in favor of a man, and you Google commentary regarding this situation and you find an MTR to get a different perspective? Is it not beneficial for that? I can't even count the amount of times that I've gone into a discussion night or something like that, and my thoughts, feelings, and ideologies were completely shunned. It wasn't up until I started creating content on the internet, and I was like, oh shit, more people think like me. Oh, oh shit, I do matter. My points are valued. Shout out $5 super chat BJ347. Another thing, Destiny is involved in a relationship in which he and the other women. Destiny is involved in a relationship in which he and other women are with other men and women. I think that's part of his viewpoints. Yes, I did know that. I watched his content. Let me keep going. Shout out to NMW3. Why do we keep debating a bi male whose wife also has a boyfriend? Oh, they're in an open relationship? I did not know that. Shout out to Cologne. $5 super chat. The differences in black and white is coming through. Yes. Going to church does that mean you're gonna find a traditional woman. Yeah, the church one, I forgot to comment on that one, but yeah, let's just keep going.
And that's a nice way of putting it. You know, so when these guys are out here actually looking for marriageable women, they're coming up short. They can't find any. Because part of the new age way of thinking is that women should be able to do the things that men have traditionally done. And the sad part is whenever you...
Yo, just real quick, I'm surprised Destiny said that. If I ever had a conversation with him, I'd want to ask more questions about what does he mean about that OnlyFans shit. The amount of men that send me emails that might say something to the effect of, because of your content, I'm now in a much better relationship. Because of your content, the thing that I was going to do to myself to end life is no longer going to happen. Thank you. The amount of women that I get emails from that just say, or DMs, or like join my Patreon, just say, yo, thank you. Because of your content, I now understand my father better. I now understand my son better. I show my son your videos so we can get a different perspective on life, a male's perspective on life. To just compare it to OnlyFans is so much of a bastardization of the countless hours that so many content creators put in within the space in order to come up with as much non-biased content as what they possibly can. But let's keep going.
Hear that. It's always women taking the most negative things of men and then touting that as empowerment. This is what the guys are encountering on a regular basis, where the women, they want to do the same things. They want to have the same equality as men, which is fine, but they don't want the same accountability, the same responsibility. It doesn't make any sense.
I mean, if you're willing to be in the right, have you heard of this? I know you've heard of the saying. Have you heard of the saying, dress for the job that you want?
Yeah.
Yeah. The idea is like, you should carry yourself through life like you're where you want to be, because that's how you're going to find that place, essentially, right? I'll hear people say this, like, I don't know where to find conservative women. And then you like ask them, well, where are you looking? And they're like, well, I've tried Tinder, I've gone on Bumble, I've gone on Hinge. And it's like, okay, do you go to a church? Like, do you have a community of like conservative friends? Have you been involved in any political or community organizing? Because like, especially in the Black community, right? Like, women are like the backbones of all of these things. And if you're looking for conservative people and you're in those areas, you'll find them there. But I feel like people aren't setting themselves up in a conservative lifestyle. Like,
I wonder if Destiny thinks that conservative women within the Black community are as numerous as liberal women. I think that's what underpins his argument. I wonder if he really thinks that. I wonder if he really thinks that. Let's keep going.
if you tell me you're looking for a conservative woman and you're not part of your local church, like, Jesus, that's like the number one place to start, right? Because these are where, off of churches, are where all of your community building activities are going to stem from. Every church has a bulletin board where people are doing things. A lot of churches are involved in like community outreach. You can volunteer. You can get a ton of people this way. But people aren't willing to go out and look for it. But I feel like in terms,
I think it completely negates the overwhelming amount of dogma that this liberated culture has infused within the dating culture today. I think it completely ignores that. But then again, maybe Destiny doesn't have an anchor for how messed up that it is.
Of that type of advice, I never hear red pillars talking
Yeah,
about
he
that.
might be
It's
ignorant
always
regarding
like the sexual marketplace and high value men are these things you have to do to exploit the dynamics of the evolutionary psychology of women so that you can fuck as many women as possible, and that's why you gotta do 1%. And like that's the
He
message
talks
I
so
hear over
damn
and over
fast,
and over and
though.
over and over again. Rather than like look up your local archdiocese, start going to your church every Sunday, and when church ends, everybody's chatting with each other because that's what they do. Sometimes the priest or whatever will come out and talk to people, and you just like talk to people and you meet friends that way. Like that's how you organically grow a group of friends. But I don't hear that advice
Well,
ever in the manosphere. I never hear that.
I hate the reason why you never hear that in the manosphere is because the biggest hoes usually go to church. They're usually the most promiscuous. They're usually the
To atone for their
most
sins.
trifling. Like guys wish it was that easy. They could just go to church and find a good whose girl at church. They can't. That's where
This point's gonna blow Destiny's mind.
The worst ones are at.
Angryman was like a motherfucking jackal in the bushes, just waiting for him to stop talking so we can hit him with that jab. Put a 1 down to the chat if you agree with Angryman. Oh, them church girls, talk about it. Put a 1 down in the chat if you agree with Angryman. That the nastiest women can be found in the church, atoning for their sins. Put a 2 down into the chat if you're like, nah. The church is where you go find a lovely young lady. The church is where you go right at communion. You lock eyes with her from across the pew. Ah, Cindy Lou, I've been waiting to talk to you for so long. Amen. Well, that's where you find the nastiest. The ones down into the building. He don't know. I wonder if Destiny's ever been to a black church. I would guess not. Shots fired. Yeah, Angryman was down there waiting in the bushes to come back and pounce back at this one. All right, let's keep going.
On average, do you think the women in church are going to be more promiscuous, or like women that are like at a bar or a club?
Bro, they do
don't
the
matter.
same thing.
See, to me, it doesn't matter so much. Like, dudes ask me, like, where was the best place to go meet women? And like, when it comes to the level of promiscuity, there's no best place. There's no best place. If that's the thing that you're anchoring as far as where should I go? Like, yeah, like, you know, if you want a woman that is probably more disciplined, you probably want to go to the gym. You know what I'm saying? You can find more disciplined women on average in the gym as opposed to just, you know, walking on in the street on average, right? But when it comes to promiscuity, MTR's field studies have shown that it's just random. you just never know. You know what I'm saying? Let's keep going.
They're twerking.
Every woman everywhere. There are no more conservative
They're
women.
twerking and they're twerking in church. When you look at the black community, the vast majority of the men don't even go to church anymore. They've checked out. And the reason why they checked out is because of the ridiculousness that's going on in the church. You got the Baptist preacher actually having sex with women in the congregation. You've got women actually twerking in church. You've got the single mothers sitting on the front pew of the church.
Being forgiven for their sins.
The church, especially in the black community, I can't speak for the white community, but in the black community, the church is lost, bro. It's done.
Where are all of these single moms coming from?
Where are they coming from?
Destiny. We about to go there, Destiny. Destiny took the pylon. Yeah, you're right. I may not be that educated when it comes to this. Here goes the pylon. He launched it. Destiny, you about to go there? Where are they coming from? They coming from the dudes that are fucking them. Is that what you about to say, Destiny? Damn it, I got to stop cussing because YouTube doesn't like the cuss words anymore. Shout out to Luke Casey, $5 super sticker. Appreciate you, mama. All right, let's get back in there. This is about to spice up. And listen, my assumption is by listening to the Angryman's previous comments, I think he's going to have certain rebuttals for this one as well. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
because if the church is fucked because it's all like single moms and people like, it seems like it takes two to tango, right? Like it can't just be all on black women.
Actually,
right?
no, it does. Actually, no, it doesn't take two to tango. And the
What?
reason why is because what's going on in the black community is you have a large group of women that are actually having sex with multiple men, having children with multiple men.
Right, and it's more times often than not the same types of men. I don't like the way that he started that because it does take two to tango. It absolutely does take two to tango, okay? Unless she's going to sperm banks and then impregnating herself or something like that. Besides that, yes, it takes two to tango. This specific point, I never take accountability off of the dudes because you have control of your seed. Protect your goddamn seed. Protect it. Protect it. I ain't gonna hold you up. I messed up a couple of times in my life as well, but the pullout game is exceptionally strong, all right? But it depends on your genetics. I don't got no leaky faucets. Some of y'all out here with leaky faucets going in raw daddy. Stop it right now. It's all up to y'all because you can't trust them, all right? I've been on my birth control. I've been taking it every day for the past several years. I won't get pregnant. Bullshit. There's some men that down here in the chat right now that have kids right now because she said that she was taking the birth control. No, it's on you. Protect yourself. I don't want to hear nothing else outside of that. Wrap it up, wrap it up, wrap it up. If you got a kid, it's your fault. Takes two to tango. Anyway, let's go.
You actually have twice as many women in the black community have children as the men. Twice as many.
Yeah, but why is that?
They like them.
I mean,
There are some cities where there's like 3 black women for every one man that's not in jail, right? Like, I mean, like, depending on the city that you live in, the availability for
where
some
they at
black
though?
women
What
to find
cities
a
is that?
guy,
There's
the
a
competition
number.
is fierce.
There's a number of factors. The competition is very fierce, and there's a number of reasons for that. Number one, we have a small percentage of the population. Black women, last time I checked, outnumbered the men by about 3 or 4 million, something crazy like that. Part of the reason.
Yeah, so if he says black, we're about 50-50 within the country, but if you take into account prison populations, gay men, if he says actively single and searching for men versus men actively searching for women, then yes, it's about 3-ish million or so. Shout out to Alex Miner with the smooth profile picture. See you, my G. Destiny sounds well-reasoned on the surface, but he blindly subscribes to many left-wing ideologies. I think that's an astute opinion. Is totally cliche in his perceptions of the red pill and puts all accountability on men. The thing that I like about Destiny, though, is that he understands components of the red pill enough where you're not always just at the surface level, right? You can get beneath the layer and really go back and forth with him, and which I think is they're demonstrating extremely well between the conversation that we're having right here, right? I'm an active fan of these conversations where they can go beneath just the if this, then that, the surface, the binary, the zeros and the ones. No, get out of that and go somewhere else. But shout out, brother, for the $10 super chat. Let go.
Is because of Planned Parenthood. In our community, they actually go to Planned Parenthood to the tune of 367,000 per year. That's 1,000 every day. So that already right there, you have a lower population of just black people in general due to that. In addition to that, there has been an issue with mass incarceration thanks to good old Joe Biden with the 94 crime bill. So you have a lot of brothers that are locked up. So that diminishes the amount of black men as well. In addition to that, you have the cultural problem of black women not being very easy to get along with and not being easy to cohabitate with. So you have black men who seek relationships outside of the black race, outside of the country, with the passport bros, with SYSBM, all of those different things. So then you end up with an even lower amount. And what happens is you have black women out here that are more prone to deal with what people call the Pookies and the Ray Rays. And they'll go out here and they'll have kids, they'll have children with 1, 2, maybe even 3 different men. And the reason why that is because...
And then call to a Kevin Samuels show and be 87 pounds overweight, asking where did all the good men go? Shout out to JS Hooper, $5 super chat. Destiny should speak about black issues. He's anti-black male. He's the type to create fake black woman profile on Twitter and bash black men. His type get exposed. In me watching him, I don't think that he's anti-black. He may be ignorant to certain issues that Angryman is speaking about. But see, what I think Angryman is doing is bringing the ball on his court more to conversation topics that he knows more about, which, you know, if you're in a debate with someone, if you don't know something about it, that's like the best thing to do, right? I should have kept a scoreboard at the top of the chat. Maybe another time when I do a conversation like this, I'll keep a scoreboard so we can keep in score who's winning and who's losing as well. So, but I think it's going to be interesting the way that Destiny responds to this.
It's been incentivized by our government, unfortunately. A lot of these women are doing that in order to supplement their lifestyle with welfare, food stamps, child support, all of those different things. There's a bunch of different factors that weigh into that.
Okay, for whatever we want to blame black women for this, black men are just as culpable, right? We can complain about the mass incarceration from the 93 crime bill all we want, but Joe Biden doesn't make somebody sell weed. Joe Biden doesn't make somebody carry an unregistered firearm. Joe Biden doesn't make somebody a gangbanger. Like, these are choices that are still being made, by black men that fuck over black women in the community. And I think that the cultural problems stem from a lot of the kind of like dysfunction that goes back and forth there. I don't think it's fair to blame black women on everything.
Okay,
like,
well,
we can talk about like
well,
food stamps and
we're-
welfare and all
well,
that too, but that
we're-
exists for black people and white people and every other type
Well,
of person in the
when
United
we're-
States. But it seems like the black
well,
community has like a special problem with
Well,
it, right?
well, hold on. No, when we're talking about that, there are things that are very specific. Okay, one book written by what is her name? Elizabeth Hinton, who I think went to Yale. I think she's a professor in African American studies at either Yale or I think Yale, if I'm not mistaken. She wrote From the War on Poverty to the War on Crime, and she pointed out through her research, right after you get the 65 Voters Rights Act, you actually have a overhauling of the criminal justice system, where they started policing urban areas more heavily. This is right after the Industrial Revolution, where you have black people migrating into the urban centers. You have them policing them more heavily. Okay, you actually have what is the equivalent of today billions of dollars funneled into that criminal program. I forgot the name of it, but the purpose was to create probation officers, all of these different things, to create a revolving door in the criminal justice system.
They're both right. They're both right. Angryman's doing a great job in this, and I think Destiny is rebutting it with some great points. Yes, we have to be responsible for our own actions, but to ignore the nuance of what Angryman is talking about, as if there's not more of a police presence, as if there's not more of a targeting dependent upon your look, you'd be remiss to think about. I've made it through my whole life, and I've never been arrested. I don't have a felony. I consider myself a particularly calculated person in the moves and the steps that I make, but I've also come from a household with an incredible father. And I think too much of us do not. I think it's like 70% illegitimacy rate within the black community. And understanding that, knowing how there's been a lack of structure with so many of them, yes, if you do wrong shit, you're more apt to get caught. Yes, that is true. You should be accountable for your shit. But then also to ignore that there's also not more eyes on you and more sensitive eyes on you. You do something wrong, harsher jail sentences, what have you, you'd be remiss, okay? It's a bit short-sighted.
Which has affected the black community significantly. So yeah, it's wrong for any black man to go out here and commit crimes and do things that he doesn't have any business. But
I don't even
it
like
is-
talking
it
like
has
about
been
race stuff like that, but
proven over and over again
here we are.
that black men have been disproportionately targeted by the criminal justice system, especially with particular crimes. When you have certain narcotics that black men get a harsher sentence for, whereas other groups of men might get a slap on the wrist, or even worse when it comes to unaliving somebody. More often than not, when a white guy goes to jail for unaliving somebody, they end up getting a manslaughter charge as opposed to second degree or whatever degree or whatever. Now, I'm not trying to play the victim Olympics. I'm just stating the facts. Like, any of this can be looked up. The research is out there. So it's not just
I agree.
It's not just that black men are just like, oh, we're gonna go.
If Destiny's a liberal, he has to agree with this. Like, I'll be a little bit confused if he doesn't agree with Angryman's points right here.
Go to prison or whatever. Like, right around the time that they overhauled the welfare program in 90 in freaking 96, not 96, in 65 and 66, you see a rise in single parent households. You see a rise in single parent households. You had a number of things that occurred that affect that. You had the emergence of the prison industrial complex. You're just coming out of the Vietnam War, which a lot of black men lost their lives to that. And now you have this welfare program where if you have a man in the house, then one of the stipulations is you don't qualify
You don't get as
for
much.
those particular things.
Or you don't
which
qualify,
is
right?
unfortunate because during that time, you had a really serious problem with poverty. So there's a number of factors that play into all of that.
Angryman's a real
So-
smart brother.
To preface this, I just will comment as a small jab. I think it's funny that you're citing a woman who is a historian who went to Yale. So historians
That is funny. That's hilarious.
Yeah, sure. That
Destiny's
American
good.
I think, or the poverty one or whatever, right? But regardless of that, everything you said might be true, but none of that is black women's fault. I just think it's fair to blame black women. Like, you can't blame black women for men being incarcerated. When police are policing these areas, black men are the ones that are engaging in the crime. The black women aren't. And I guess it just feels a little shitty to blame black women when at the end of the day, they're the ones that get saddled with all of the community responsibility.
I don't think he's blaming
backbone of like all these families, of all these churches, of all these things. That, like, the only way these communities function are on the backs of these like single black women moms. And then say, well, let me finish. And then for black men to turn around and say, well, we got policed really heavily, and so we got caught selling drugs, and that's why you guys are all single moms, and that's why your lives are fucked up. But it's black women's fault for everything that happens with black community.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of fault that can be evenly doled out to both sides.
Okay, here's the thing with this. All right, there is so much nuance in all of that.
Guys, put a 1 down into the chat if you guys would like me to bring up Sister Shahrazad Ali back up on the channel. Put a 1 down into the building if you would want me to bring Sister Shahrazad Ali back into the building. Put a 2 if you don't want to see that conversation happen again. Shout out to Michael down into the building. W. Michael, L. Destiny. You can't speak for black people. Just sorry you can't. Is it anyone? Should I even do a poll? Oh. Look at them ones go. Oh, just saw 2. Oh, just saw another one. Oh, it's been a year. I think it was 2020. It was like March of 2020 that I last had her on the channel. Your boy might have been having conversations with her, okay? She might have been having conversations with her. Right. I think I would be humbled to have her back on the channel. But I was just starting to think about this. I think, I only know the things that I know within my life. I'm going to comment on different things. I think I don't have as much historical context to a lot of this conversation, but I can speak from an observational perspective. And based on the studies and the things like that, I am not as well read as Sister Shahrazad Ali or even Angryman. I think Angryman can speak about these topics better than I can. He probably has a lot more of the historical significance within it. But wouldn't it be dope to be able to bring up Sister Shahrazad Ali to have these conversations in the way that we do to almost 2 years later? I think it will be. Shout out to the ones that came down into the building. Shout out to Uncle Gary Grant with the 20 Canuck buck. It is a lie. There are only 1.2 million black men in prison or in jail out of 20 million black men in the United States, which is less than 5%. What up, nephew? Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think he's talking about single black men that are not dead, right? Like not in prison, right? Not gay. There's gonna be more black women to black men. I actually did, there was a video I did, it had to be about 2 or 3 years ago, where I actually put all of the stats from the U.S. Census Bureau down into the Excel sheet. All my OGs, all my old heads that's down into the building. You know what video I'm talking about. It's actually one of the first videos that I think like really blew up like that. It was like a reaction video. I went through Excel, put it all down up in there, and actually calculated it and showed it. That's back before TikTok really blew up, so I can do videos like this. But now you guys' goddamn ability to stay put and watch a video is shrinking now. Shout out, Uncle. Appreciate you, fam. All right, let's keep going.
One, you have a lot of guys that were caught selling drugs.
Hit a like.
That weren't
hit on like button.
Drugs. Okay, you have a lot of guys that had issues where they got pulled over and, oh, surprise, there's drugs in the car. Where did that come from? Okay, so that's one thing. There's nuance like that. Doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. All right. Then on top of that, when you're talking about it's not the black women's fault, black women are willing participants in a system that they actually know for a fact is disproportionately prejudiced to their group of men. Okay, they know this. This is not a game. They go to these offices knowing that they can actually take advantage of this system by, oh, I'm in a relationship with a black man who ain't hitting on nothing and don't want to work and blah, 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 all of those different things. So we can't ignore that. We can't ignore that. Now, to sit here and say, oh, it's all black women's fault. I never said it was all black women's fault, but there is a large percentage of black women who have been incentivized to have children out of wedlock. They've been incentivized to utilize a system that they know benefits them. And they do this on a regular basis.
Okay,
they do this
just
on a
as a
regular
quick-
basis.
Do you really believe that there's like people out there that are like, I want to have a kid so I get welfare?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't.
Yes. 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 Yes, Destiny. Yes. Shout out to already $5 super chat. You're one of the GOATs, MTR. We need the Destiny collab soon. Yeah, sure. Why not? Shit, I was just down in Miami. I think he's down up in there, but I don't know him. But yes, Destiny, yes. Hold on. Destiny. Yes. Yes, my brother. Yes. Yes. Shit. I ain't gonna hold you up. I got family members in my family that choose not to work because they do get government assistance. Yes. Yes. They choose not, and I watched them. I'm like, oh my God, where all this liquor come from? Like a lot of drugs in here. Shit. Is that what they're using it for? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, yes, if you incentivize, I've done videos on that. Shit, what was that one video that I did and the young lady was talking about, well, if you have 6 kids, this is how much that you make. But if you have about 6 different baby daddies versus if you have 6 kids by one person. Y'all know what video that I'm talking about? Yes. If you incentivize people to be lazy, guess what they're going to do? They will be lazy. Yes. Yes. Which is a goddamn problem. Shout out to Uncle J Dow in the building. What's good, fam? Where my t-shirt, man? Is it coming from China? Shout out. Oh, you got the part of the mask. Do I have it? Oh, we got the merch down into the building. What up, son? Hopefully you got this colorway. You know what I'm saying? Look at that shit. Oh, my G. It's coming, my brother. It's coming. All right, let me see. Nah, I'm not debating a woman about ish. We have been in for decades. They helped create these modern bras. The hypocrisy. Uncle J Doe in the building. I feel like this is Red Cup talk back from like 2019. Shout out to the family that's coming through. I ain't seen you guys in a minute. Shout out. I got to do a live streams more often. All right, family? I promise you, I'll be up here more. All right? Let's keep cooking.
I don't believe it. I know it. I don't believe it. I know it because I know my culture.
Why do black women do this, but not white women or Indian women or Asian women or other people?
Well, I don't know if white women do this or not. A lot of white women on welfare too. I can't speak for white women because I'm not part of that. I'm not part of that culture, but I know what I grew up around. I've heard the conversations amongst women. I've heard the things that they've said. One of the issues that I point out in my show, which is a real issue, during the time where Gen Xers were younger and you had the boomer parents, you had this switch like you talked about earlier where the women started going into the workforce more and going to get their education more. Well, one of the things that happened is a lot of the boomer women would use their daughters to help them with the housework. So when mom goes off to work or whatever, her daughter.
I think one of the biggest issues is that we don't have male gatekeepers at the top, right? In order to set structures and foundations, which is actually what I think is so much of the benefit of the content on this side of the internet. I think that's what it is. Who else is going to combat the lick it, stick it, flick it culture, right? Who else is going to combat these songs? Who else is going to combat the shit that they put on BET? Who else is going to combat the shit that I see, even on like Revolt and shit like that. No disrespect to them, but I watched the goddamn P. Diddy versus Carisha chat, and I was gonna do a reaction regarding that, and it was just so crazy the way that she was talking to him and the way that he was tolerating the way that she was talking to him. It was completely disrespectful. But see, that's what we see, and there's no one to say no. That shit is not actually how we need to roll. Name me the Jewish Cardi B. I'll wait. But no, they got a culture surrounded around real estate, around wealth accumulation. That's the type of shit that I like. That's the shit that I like to talk about. But no, we don't talk about it. Who are the gatekeepers? Who sets the standard? Shit, Kevin Samuels was trying to set a standard and y'all hated him for it. Y'all hated him for it. Y'all hate uncomfortable truths. Why does this dude act like he's so out of touch with these issues is beyond me? Shout out to AM 5369, $10 super chat. No, he may legitimately be out of touch with the certain things that Angryman is talking about, which is why I think that these conversations are needed. I saw there was some comments down there that said that, Destiny should not be speaking about that. I disagree. I think Destiny coming in and having an opinion and then talking this opinion out with other people is what we as human beings need to do more of. We need to get out of our echo chambers and have our ideas questioned so we can critically think about, is this correct? Or is this not? All right. Shout out to Slice of Pie. Yo, MTR, I'm one of your Patreons. Just checking if you got my email from Slice of Pie. There will be more money coming your way. More money coming your way. Checking your email. I'll check Slice of Pie in my email right after this, my brother. I appreciate the $10 super chat. Thank you. Let me write that down over here in a second. Let me see. Shout out to Jado, $2 super chat. Big ups to the original Red Cup Talk fam. We show up for life. Shout out my brother. All right, let's keep going, yo.
Is helping raise the siblings. And what I've had a lot of women tell me, a lot of black women tell me, and I know it's anecdotal, but I've had a lot of women tell me one of their escapes was to have sex, have a child with a guy, because then she can get Section 8 or she can get public housing, and now she can move out and get the hell away from her mama's house where her mother's forcing her to cook, clean, and do all of the housework.
Dog, I just had a video, it's probably about a month or so ago, where the teacher was talking about that she had a student, and the student was talking about, why do I need a man for? I just want to get pregnant and just have a kid. What do I need a man for? And it's just like the idea of single mother is embedded within her head. There's also this news thing that has been going around since about the 80s from like Heyaka News, where these young women talk about, them becoming single mothers and how they don't need men. And that was back in the 80s. I'm going to look for that right now. Let's keep going.
And they feel like slaves. Like that's the reality.
Yeah,
it's
like a nerd and be like, we should look up the stats, but like people don't. There might be some people that do this, but like single moms don't live glorious lives. Like it sucks. Being a single mom sucks. You can get all the fucking welfare in the world,
but
nobody's living like a queen on Section 8
but
houses,
I didn't say
no, but
that.
I'm just saying, I don't think people are choosing like, oh, like I'm gonna finally move out of my mom's house by having a kid and getting welfare. I don't think people are making choices like that. I think it might happen.
No,
and then people collect welfare afterwards.
In any given month, there are about 450,000 families drawing welfare checks in California. Every 2 weeks, the mailman delivers a check to the home of Cynthia Jones. She, her husband, and 2 children collect $423 a month. Mrs. Jones has been on welfare nearly 4 years. Her husband has not worked since last December. Twice a month, she follows the same routine. First, she cashes the check at the supermarket, then goes to another part of town to purchase food stamps, $71 worth every month. The stamps buy $170 worth of groceries. There's rent, about $170. Utilities run $45.
This is from the 70s.
And she has a small insurance policy on her 3-year-old daughter. Other expenses eat up the rest. The state has an automatic cost of living increase for those on welfare. It averages about $200
Hello, Daddy.
Hello, baby. How's
right.
my love child?
Hold up. That sounds like that's copyrighted. Let me get let me get this off of the screen. I think that was actually the wrong one. I'll try to find it again.
We are, because you don't. Here's the thing, because this is what you're not getting. It's not a choice
Hit on
that
like
they're
button.
making because it's the best choice in the sense that when I do this, I'm gonna get I'm going to have an awesome life. You're already dealing with a group of people who are already at the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder.
If this is true, why do black women do abortions more than any other group of people? Shouldn't they be having the most children then to take advantage of all the welfare?
Because there's numerous reasons for that too. For one, you have some women that genuinely don't really want to have kids. They like the party lifestyle. But the ones that do, they want to have those kids by a specific guy. Okay? Because some guys are going to bring more benefits than others. Okay? When it comes to child support, there are chicks out here in the black community, they'll get pregnant by a guy. If a chick gets pregnant by a guy that just enlisted in the military, she's not deleting that baby. It ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen because she knows that's definite child support. And look, this is not something that everybody talks about in polite society, but it's something that goes on a regular basis. I know this for a fact. I've had these experiences. Numerous men that I know have had these experiences. When I talked about this the other night on my show.
Raise your hand if you're married. None of you are married. Raise your hand if you would like to be married to your baby's father. One. The rest of you who don't plan to get married, why don't you plan to get married? I'd like to know that.
You already have your child to think about, and then a whole family to care for. You know, it's a lot of responsibility, and then you don't want the commitments.
I wouldn't want no man holding me down because I think I can make it as a single parent.
But don't you think you might need help in raising that baby from a man?
Not really. I didn't have a father.
If you are unfamiliar with this is about some of the saddest shit on the goddamn internet. Shout out to Nexus Wolf. You write about the echo chambers. It causes people not to be able to defend their ideas. They will resort to shaming tactics whenever someone have a different point of view. The left does it the best. Shout out my brother.
My father wasn't in the home, so, you know, it really, male figures are not substantially important in the family.
Oh, word? Hey.
I ain't thinking about holding up for no sex, my man. You know, if a girl, you know, she get having a baby, carrying a baby, hey, that's on her. You know, I'm not gonna
stop
my
right
pleasures because of another woman.
What about birth control?
1986.
What about condoms?
Girls don't like them things.
I was a year old at this time. Shout out to Leon 008 MTR. Bill Clinton changed how welfare worked in the 90s, aka put the women to work, take pressure off the state to provide welfare women's needs, so they stopped having more children. Appreciate the $10 super chat.
They don't like them things. They'll tell you to take them things. They
don't like them things, man.
Saying that they filthy or they dirty or something. It's been
Yo, I ain't gonna lie to you. I had a young lady. I ain't gonna give the time period. It wasn't that too long ago. This young lady said the same shit. Wanted me to take off the rubber, and I turned and looked at her. I said, "Are you goddamn crazy?" She turned and looked at me with a straight face and said, "What? You think I'm dirty or something?" Now I do.
A startling change in values. 25 years ago, you would not have heard such things said so freely because they were not embraced so widely.
right up.
Good stuff.
All right, we're gonna go back. Let go.
There was a guy, Adam, that was telling me that, well, that's not true. I don't believe that. And then I literally had a black woman come onto my show and say,
She said, condoms? Nani? I just saw that comment that's not up in there. Yeah, it absolutely blew my mind. And then from then on, I was just like, damn, I should probably double rap with this dirty, lovely young lady. You know what I'm saying? Just double rap with her. Guys, don't fall for the genjutsu. If they try to pull this, oh, what does that mean? You think that I'm dirty? You straight face them straight through that, and you stick to the reality that keeps you most safe. Police. There's actually a lot more to that story, but I'm choosing not to get into it. It's delaying again? All right, hold on. Let me try to do what I did last time. Test. How about now? We good? Are we good? Yes or no? We good? We good? Okay. Shout out to Living Weapon Iron Fist. I grew up with my mom telling me that love is an illusion. Don't marry for love, do it for survival. I wonder if this is a man or a woman that's writing this. Now when I'm trying to date and it don't last long, women look at us for the benefits that she can get. Shout out to Living Weapon for the $10 super chat. Let's keep it going. Yeah, I don't know. What I want to do is complain about this laptop company, but I'll keep it professional for this for the remainder of this stream. I don't know why it gets delayed out of nowhere. Anyway, let's just go back down in it.
Yes, her family has even told her to do that because she doesn't. She's in her 20s. She doesn't have any children, and at one point she needed a place to stay or whatever. And she said that the women in her family was basically scolding her. You need to go out here and find a guy that you don't really like that, get pregnant by him so that you can get all of the benefits that we get. They do this. I know it sounds crazy, but they do this. This is one of the things that the men in my culture have been constantly complaining about. And it's being treated like we're delusional. And
well, I don't know. I mean, well, to complain about it as a guy, just use birth control, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the smart guys out here, look, if you look at black guys out here, the smart guys.
I think that the point is that they're not bringing up is that it's not, yes, it's 50-50. It takes two to tango. But most of the societal blame gets placed on men. Most of the societal blame, even though there's 30 plus versions of birth control for women, even though women control sex while men control relationships, even though those things are true, the man gets the majority of the blame within the culture. And that has to be spoken about. That has to be spoken about. Shit, I actually talked about this when I did the live stream with, when I did the video with Pearl. Go check it out on Just Pearly Things channel. We did a one-on-one. And I talked about the influence of media within that. Like if you take a look at Maury's show and how they would always boo the men and feel sorry for the thought women, right? Like you got two different dudes up here that you know who's a father. You're disgusting. You're nasty. You're a nasty lady. You're a nasty woman. But, you know, they forego the reality or the uncomfortable truths of them being nasty in order to continue to pander to them for their mistakes.
They're not out here getting a bunch.
Oh wait,
of
did I miss
women
a super
pregnant.
chat? My bad. Hold up. Uh-oh. Shout out to Sierra Turner with the $50 super chat. I got the ladies top supporting for me today. Shout out, Sierra. I appreciate the support. Hey, I listen a lot of the Black Manosphere, but I hate this point. Okay, what point? It's more on WW on welfare than BW on welfare. Okay, it's more of them than, okay, yeah, because there's more of them, right? Same thing with single moms. Yes, BW have more kids out of wedlock. Yeah, I think what you're speaking about is just a percentage issue. There's more of them. Yeah, there's more WWs on welfare, but there's more of them. But from a percentage basis, there's a higher percentage within the Black community. Yes, BWs have more kids out of wedlock, but if a single mom is a dad outside of the house, it's more WW. Sierra Turner, appreciate the $50 super chat. Today's sponsor for the stream. Shout out, mama. Got the ladies in here showing love, support, and respect.
They're not.
Well, how are they getting pregnant?
Because there's literally 3 guys in Tennessee right now that have a total of 86 children by 34 different women. There are guys out here that have 10 children by 5 different women. There are guys out here, like when you go look at the CDC stats, when it comes to the deadbeat dads, that actually represents a small percentage of the Black male population. It's about 8%, right? So what's happening is you have a number of women that are basically having children with multiple guys, but it's a very small percentage of the male population.
Yes.
It's not all of us. So what's happening is you end up with these guys out here, and I can't name how many times I've heard this, and it's crazy. 50%
50% of BM are single and childless. 50%. This is from blackdemographics.com. Shit, that's me. I'm in that 50%, single and childless, which is often funny, like, you know, which is why, like, when I think about it from a content perspective, what are the things that I was able to do to kind of rise above the crop? I think along with just other things, you know, from like an education perspective and then also a consistency perspective, I also think my background. There's been a lot of content creators that have had problems with that because of things that have happened in their background, which kind of is ironic for the things that they talk about. You see what I'm saying? But I can talk about that because this is actually my lifestyle, you know? Let's keep going.
It knows a reality. But I myself, I only have 3 children, about 1 woman, right? So you have these guys out here that'll be like, yeah, you know, my dad had 19 kids.
Okay, then if women are choosing, if black women are choosing to get pregnant for the welfare and all that shit and child support, none of these women are getting child support then. If there's one guy knocking up like 30 fucking women, right? So why would they even do this? Why would they make these choices?
Because the way that system is structured, right? Even if you can't extract child support out of the guy, right? There are still numerous programs that you can get. I know a woman that had I think she has like 10 children. Habitat for Humanity gave her a house.
Yeah, but do you think that's normal? But that's not the norm, right?
It's not the norm.
That people are getting free houses for having kids in black communities? No, I don't think so.
That's not the norm. Okay. Look, here's the thing.
Well, here I'm curious. How many? If we and
yeah, I don't think that's the norm.
Like 52.8%. I don't need like an exact stat, but like, how many women do you think in the black community that get pregnant? How many of them, like what, like roughly, what percentage of them are just like looking for a welfare check?
I like when Destiny does this, when he asks people to quantify, because oftentimes we can talk about things, and in the eye of the audience member, it could be confusing on how much that they actually mean unless they quantify what it is that they're actually saying. He did something similar when he was in front of Fresh and Fit they were talking about the amount of women that get flown out to Dubai to go get on. And I want to say that Fresh said something like 30, 40, or 50%, which is absolutely a ludicrous number. So I think at that point, from a debate perspective, anything that Fresh says after that, you have to put it into question when regarding that topic, because it would have seemed as though that the way that he quantified that makes him ill-prepared for that component of the conversation. So let's see what happens right here. But before we do, shout out to Alex Miner, $5 super chat. Even the language we use removes accountability from women. She got knocked up. Oh, that's a good point as well. Yeah, she got used as well. Shout out to Alex Miner again. And to add on to Angryman's point, I've seen statistics stating that guys who have been incarcerated are more likely to have multiple kids by multiple women. Shout out, my brother. And then I missed one. Shout out to Warlord down into the building with $20 super chat. Bro, literally, we've seen the vid of the white lady talking ish about people that work. Which video is that? Buying and feeding crab to her dog with her daddy gov check like it's nothing to her. Most likely to make herself feel better. I can't remember what video that is, brother, but thank you so much for the $20 super chat. Let's keep going.
Like, just so I get an idea of like where you think the scale is.
I could tell you how many are pregnant out of wedlock, which I think is a little above 70-some%. But so far as their motive, that would be a little harder to pin down. Because I'm not saying that all of them, but I'm saying it's a
get out there.
Trend. And the reason why it's a trend is because you have women that will school their daughters to do that. Literally.
Yeah, I guess I'm just kidding because like I'm sure it's happened. I'm not gonna tell you it's never happened, but I'm just curious like where you think like do you think this is like 2% of the community, which would be pretty fucked up, or do you think it's like 50% of the community that's like super fucked up? I'm just curious what you think like the number is. I'll do research on it later. I'll try to look it up. I guess.
I've literally never thought about because where would you get a census for that? Who's gonna admit
but
that?
the issue is that I guess the issue is that you're content to blame, or it feels like it, maybe I'm gonna bad rating, you correct me, but it feels like you're content to blame the majority of the black community's problems on black women, but then you're relying on a lot of like, I know a woman that told me this, I've got a friend that's done that, like, and it's like, okay, but how do you know that this is representative of the black community as a whole? Or how do you know that like in different towns or cities, like this is how it works everywhere? Like it seems like numbers or census data on that would be pretty important.
The reason why I know it is because every single time there's an issue with Section 8. Right now, recently they just had an issue with Section 8 where a lot of the landlords in Atlanta have stopped taking Section 8. So guess what? Black women are all across social media crying about it. One time.
Well, but what does that show? I mean, like, if you genuinely need the assistance, of course you're going to cry about it, right?
But no, it's not. It's some that genuinely need the assistance, but it's a lot that continue to live on it. These are people that live on the system the majority of their life. They're not using it in the sense that they're supposed to use it for, where, oh, I'm down bad, I have some issues, let me use this so that I can get on my feet. They're not doing that. What they're doing is they're looking and finding loopholes to continue to be on that system perpetually.
This is such an interesting portion of the conversation, and let me tell you guys why. Destiny, again, is asking for the number. Angryman is conceding that he doesn't have the number, but also Destiny is questioning, how can you say all of these things when it all comes from your anecdotal experiences? Angryman in return is essentially saying, these are the trends that I've been seeing. And the reason why it's so interesting is because I don't think that they're going to be able to have a specific conclusion to the end of this conversation. But the thing that I liked is that Destiny said, well, if you don't know, maybe it's something I can go back later to do research on. Shout out to the super chat that's down into the building, JS Hooper. $10 super chat. Who appointed Destiny the spokeswoman for black women? He's done no research. He's not black. He's clearly harbors animosity towards black men. White men like Destiny help create the modern woman BW social engineering. He's an enemy. Here's the thing. Combining what you just said in that super chat mixed with what I just said, I think what Destiny is doing is he's just offering a different point to try to go back and forth with Angryman's point on. I don't think that he thinks of himself as like a harbinger or like a defender of the opposite side. But I think for content's sake, he's taking an opposing view. I don't know what his hard or fast opinions are regarding all of these things. But to say at the end of that, maybe it's something I could go back later and take a look at, shows a degree of, at least he's trying to learn. Because fact of the matter is, I don't think any of us can pull that number about. But if there's a number like that exists, you know, it'll be good and it'll be beneficial for all parties to understand like what that number is. But let's move on.
That's the problem. That's the problem.
I mean, if you have a kid, you're going to be on the system. If you're a single mom, of course you will be, right? You're not going to try to like get out of like Section 8 housing or assistance for your child if you're a single mom and your kid turns like 3 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't see that like I don't see like single moms looking for assistance from the government as like a negative thing.
Here's the thing. Hold on one second. I got my guy Patriarchy here. I'm gonna bring him up. I didn't just want to bring him up and have you feel like I'm ambushing you or whatever, but yeah, I know he wanted to get a piece of the conversation.
Who's this?
Patriarchy. What's going on,
man? Let me ask you a question, right? Destiny, you said you can't blame, I guess, the failures on the black community on black women. Is that what you said? Can you refresh that for me?
Yeah, I don't think you can't like blame all the failures of the black community on black women. I don't think that's fair.
What about blame?
He's saying all. You can't combat that, honestly. There's partial issues with both sides.
I'm in the majority.
I don't think that's fair either, especially when it comes to child making, because it takes two to tango. It's men and women.
Correct, right? But the thing is, if you're telling me that in certain parts of the world, as you said, they outnumber men 3-1, why would you not then, at least, I'm not saying blaming is going to do anything, but why would you not say that there's some responsibility for what it is that they're doing? Also, the fact
because the question, wait, let me just answer that. Because the question is, why do they outnumber men 3-1? It's because a lot of the guys are getting locked up.
Okay, and I think that that is the man's fault as well, right?
Sure.
But in general, even outside of the men that are being locked up, there's 1 million more black women than there are black men, right? And in your earlier statements, you said that they were the backbone of the community. If you have a backbone of a community and the community is failing, then I think you have some ability to place responsibility on what you said that backbone was.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, they're not the backbone because women want to be the leaders of the black community. But that's essentially what's happened in a lot of these communities.
Tell that to the squad that women don't want to be the leaders of the black community. It looks, as you said before, they're doing better in school. They're certainly making all the steps to become
Yeah,
those
they
leaders.
do because they have to, because black men have failed them.
Okay.
I disagree
Because
with
black men
that.
are looking back to legislation from 30 years ago saying Biden put
Really?
drugs in my car. I had to carry a gun. Like all of these communities that are being policed have just well, like we said earlier, there's more black women than black men in these communities. Black women aren't
Correct.
selling drugs. Black women aren't killing each other on the streets. Black women aren't, getting fucked with drugs like Biden made it.
Well,
So
they
to say that
do.
like black women are the fault because they're the backbones of these communities that are really rough to manage because black men have like fallen on themselves so much. I just think it's fair to say that like, well, the problem is black women because they have to step up to try to manage these communities.
But it's, as you said before, it takes two to tango. So if you're gonna, why don't you share responsibility in that blame? I don't disagree with you, right? I personally think Biden's crime bill was very effective in terms of lowering crime. But what I'm saying is that if I go to a community and you make up the majority voter base, right? Also, another reason why I think that the blame should be at least somewhat at somebody's feet is because who's consuming most of that welfare spending?
Yeah, well, it would make sense if black women are because black men run from their families, right?
No, that is
Oh, this about to heat up. Shout out to Diamond Jim 55. I'm 67. Having babies for benefits has been going on since I was a teenager. Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of Destiny's points are not informed by an angry man that has probably seen the same shit that I'm talking about that I have seen. Shout out to Ian Simmons with the $20 super chat. So it's Destiny's fault that black women are the way that they are? He's a YouTuber. People need to take more responsibility and accountability. Are you saying that based off something that I said, bro? I don't think so. Maybe it was something that was down into the chat. But shout out. Thank you so much for the $20 super chat. Shout out to Warlord. Send it to your Insta if you care to take a look. Name starts with Warlord. Like here. Shout out to Warlord with a $10 super chat. All right, let me see. You have activated the Angryman trap card.
Also, real quick, when you say, I just want to be really quick. Wait, you can answer that, and I just want to be really quick. I'm not going to say black women are blameless. I'm just saying that, like, the responsibility should be shared. It's probably a 50-50 thing. Because for every black man that stepped on a black woman after getting her pregnant, there's a black woman that fucked a black dude before getting married or deciding to use birth control, right? So I think there's equal blame there. But I wouldn't say that it's like most of it goes on black women. I said
here's the thing. No, because you said something. We gotta clear that up. Black men do not run from their families. That's not. Yeah. That is a total misnomer, and that is a that is something that has been pushed for a very long time, and it is not accurate. As I stated before, when you go back to the 70s, you start to see black men leaving the households for numerous reasons. It wasn't just because they just decided, oh, you know what, I don't want to be a father. That's not true. They actually came out with a study, and the CDC numbers disproved that. So let's stop it.
Wait, CDC numbers disproved what? The black household having single moms is not like a myth.
No, I didn't say that. What I'm talking about is nowadays black fathers are actually in their children's lives more than any other demographic, even if they're not in the household. So if we're talking about,
come on, that's not true.
Go look it up.
Yeah, that needs to be looked up because I've heard that exact same thing. I'll try to look it up right now while they're talking.
I know exactly the fucking PDF. Yeah, what they do is they do a whole bunch of like really clever number games to basically try to say that I remember reading this thing, like truth about black fatherhood, and then it goes into stereotypes of black fathers. What they try to say is that like of the fathers that are absent in their child's lives, black fathers tend to be more involved than the other people that are uninvolved in their children's lives. Okay. But as a whole, for like whose fathers are more involved in their children's lives, the black community is the worst. Now, of the ones that are uninvolved, maybe the uninvolved, or maybe the black fathers that are out of the household are a bit better than like the white and the Asian and Indian black, or the Indian fathers that are out of the household. But as a whole, wait, hold on.
Destiny.
You can't tell me that like. So wait, let me just finish real quick. You can't tell me in one breath that I look around and I see all women are having children because I've got two friends that told me this for welfare, and then in the next breath say, well, I'm going to cite this like very esoteric analysis to prove that black men are just as involved with their children as everybody else, when everybody in the United States knows that's not true.
Yes, I can, because look, okay, first of all, what everybody in the United States knows is true. is a whole other story, especially considering the fact that you have an entire media system that has spent the past 70 years dogging black men, which is another reason why we're talking so much shit nowadays. This is the whole reason that channels like mine exist, to speak truth to power and tell what's really going on, as opposed to the narrative that's being pushed that black men are just sorry. First and foremost, it doesn't matter how many women are on welfare. It does not mean that that the fathers are not in their lives. I was in my child's life, and my kid's mother still went and got welfare. So that's not true. It's not true.
I do think that when you're talking about fathers running out, right? I do think that you're not really taking note of the court system, and they really don't have a choice when 90% of custody is going to be awarded to the woman.
Yeah, but that's because the women are the ones taking care of the kids.
How do you know that?
No, they're not.
Because we,
How do you know that?
Hold on. So let me just clearly state it. So you guys think that black fathers are being kept out of their child's lives?
Wait, hold up. That needs a little bit more explanation. The 90% is a true so the 90% is how many of women take control of the child, right? I think with the black community, it's an even higher number. But an explanation I got from the lead attorney is that the majority of divorce lawyers tell the men not even to fight because it is so expensive for them to fight. And why fight when you're more often than not going to lose? She's got to be damn near addicted to drugs and have it documented for you in order for you to be able to gain custody. So even that number is a little bit flubbed because of how these men are being instructed.
Because of the courts?
I think there are some, right?
Some,
Okay,
yes.
hold on. When you say some, like 40% or 1%? I need you to quantify that for me.
Well, I can quantify that 90% of custody is awarded to women.
Okay, and I can quantify that less than 48% of black women get child support because their baby daddies don't even pay it. So I'm asking you, when we have an epidemic of single mother black families, do you think that most of those black men are being kept out because of custody arguments with judges?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's
I can say over 50. But when you look at the ratio. When you literally have a system that will award a woman custody 90% of the time, you can't say every single time it was the man that didn't want to be there. The men don't have a choice when you know if you go into something, you're going to lose 90% of the time.
The reason why women are awarded custody most of the time is because women are usually the ones taking care of the kids.
It's by choice.
That's not true.
That's not true at all.
Of course. Wait, hold on. You're telling me. Let me get that. You think that men and women in the black community take care of children at home equally? That it's just as likely for the woman to work or the man to work, and both of them are just as likely to be.
Okay. Wait.
System.
Let me say this. First of all, the women are not taking care of the children. Most of these children are wards of the state. They may as well be. The state is taking care of those children. The food stamps is feeding them. Section 8 in public housing is putting a roof over their head. These women are not doing anything except presiding over these children. Not to mention the fact that there is an epidemic in the black community of children being abused. And if you go look up the stat on that, the majority of the time that they're being abused is when they're in the custody of their mothers. I just recently did a story about a mother who literally deleted her child, and when the police arrested her for it, she confessed the reason why I did it is because she loved her daddy more. Literally, she confessed this. This is not even my opinion.
I can't argue with like the stories you give me. Like I can give you one story for every other story that you've got. I can't argue with that. If you think the majority of black men aren't in their households of their children because of like judges, I don't like.
It's a number of things.
You could never give that number. There's no stat. There's no way you can ever spread that.
I want to bring this up on the screen real quick. A study of 18,000 people shows that fathers experience more well-being from parenthood than mothers. Past studies have considered whether people with children have greater well-being than people without children. They do, but few have considered the relative happiness of fathers and mothers in comparison between each other. UCR psychologists and their colleagues analyzed 3 separate studies totaling more than 18,000 people to determine whether fathers or mothers experience greater happiness from their parental roles. Across these studies, researchers looked at measures of well-being that included happiness, well-being, depressive symptoms, psychological satisfaction, and stress. The first two studies compared well-being of parents with that of those who do not have children. Across all outcomes measured in the first studies, fatherhood was far more frequently linked with greater well-being than motherhood. Interesting. Relative to peers without children, fathers reported greater satisfaction with their lives and the feelings of connectedness to others, and they reported greater positive emotions and fewer daily hassles than the mothers. Dudes. They also reported fewer depressive symptoms than men without children, whereas mothers reported more depressive symptoms than women who do not have children. Let me see if the rest of this. The third study considered parenthood and well-being while engaged in childcare or interacting with children compared to daily activities. Okay, gender significantly impacted the association between children and happiness, childcare and happiness. Men were happier while caring for the children, while women were less happy. All right, I want to give you guys an article. Dudes down into the chat. Let go.
What I can do is I can look at where custody is being awarded. I can look at where the welfare money is being distributed. Right? I can look at, so for example, even what you said earlier about women getting houses, I can look up something as simple as Section 8 vouchers. You're making it seem like these women are just, that they just had to do this hard job of taking care of their child. If it wasn't for Section 8 welfare, food stamps, and a court system, you don't know what would happen.
Well, yeah, because working and taking care of a kid at the same time is not possible. You need help. You can't do that as a single parent. So when you say, where is the welfare money going? Probably going to the people that have the child, which is going to be the mothers, of course. But like Section 8 and food stamps.
Who's giving the mother the child?
I mean, both of them are, right?
We just said that the court system 90% of the time gives the child to who?
Why do you think 90% of the time the mother is getting the child?
Because I think our court system has a bias towards giving children to women.
Well, it's also because some men don't want the children. I mean, you can't also ignore that fact as well. Guys, we'd be remiss to say that there's not dudes out there that don't want children. Shout out to Warlord, $50 super chat. Did I read this one already? Last one. MF like Destiny needs to be drafted into the Marine Corps before 2015. I promise most will be more realistic in life. Shout out Warlord. You are now co-sponsor of today's stream. Appreciate you so much, my G. All right. Send me another Instagram DM because I just looked. I don't see your shit. All right. Let's keep going.
And ruling against men.
So I just want to hear this so it can be stated because it's ridiculous. You think that at least 50% of those black men would have fought to keep their children over the mom. You think that?
Yes.
Okay,
I think if those black men, hold on a second.
Yeah.
If those black men would have been armed with daddy government to get Section 8 welfare, food stamps,
then more would be awarded, right? But to quantify that, I think we would all be inaccurate to just throw out a number within that.
WIC, PPP loans, tax write-offs, or whatever, right? Oh, anybody can take care of a kid if you give them all that stuff. And then when you have the court system ruling that you're going to get the child 90% of the time, the men are automatically from the rip eliminated.
Okay, so how do you square this away? And maybe you don't agree with the Angryman and stuff. This maybe the Angryman wants to amend a statement.
Yeah.
How do you square this away with the fact that like it's only like a few black men are knocking up like 50 women? Like you're telling me those men, if it's only a few men that are fucking over all of women giving them babies, are those guys just trying to find a kid that they can eventually keep, or what's going on there? Would that guy want to keep every child?
No, those are the deadbeats. That's why I cited that stat, 8%. Those are the deadbeat guys. No guy of any value is gonna try. Go ahead.
Let me say something. The difference is, right, that those men don't get handouts from the government and sympathy from people such as yourself when they do those things.
Wait, but you could.
So you're telling me there's a massive amount of those men get the type of men that do that get Section 8 as much as women?
If you have a child, isn't the Section 8 qualification only based on income? And then you also
Look
get
at how
the
it's
tax
being
write-off.
distributed. Look at how it's being
No.
distributed.
No, you can't ask me how it's being distributed, because if more women are single moms, then more dad are single dads, then of course more women are getting Section 8, of course.
Who gives the child to the mom?
When men,
I'm saying
Moms
this.
taking care of it. How many of these guys have left before the kid is even born?
How do you know that? How can you quantify that?
We can literally look up numbers.
Go ahead, quantify how many dads leave don't put their name on the birth certificate, versus how many men. We literally can find the data for men that lose custody of their children in court. Show me the data of men that leave their child at the hospital.
Okay, I can try to find this, but it's going to take me a little bit because I don't have this number like offhand. But I mean, I can try to find it. But why do black men have this unique problem, and all these same welfare systems exist for white people, for Indian people, for Asian people as well?
Why do black men have this unique problem? Did you really ask that question?
Well, number one, I do think so. Hold on a second. I will yield a couple points to what Destiny's talking about in terms of crime, right?
Yeah.
I do think that there is a culture of crime that is present, right? But I do think that when it kind of is a chicken and egg conversation. I think that when you're raised in a single mom household, that it kind of is a cycle, right? That's what I honestly think. So I do see what he's saying in terms of crime, but at the same time, it's not like the court system. It's not like if a black father out there wants his child, that the courts, even if the mom is strung out, that the courts are going to do everything to make sure that black father is able to have his kid.
Well, here's the reality. These are the numbers when it comes to, well, not the numbers, but this is the reality when it comes to black families. When you have black families, when there's a structured black family where you have the father and the mother, the child is way more likely to succeed and not get in any trouble or things of that nature. Also, if the child is awarded, if the father is awarded custody of the child and he's being raised by a single father, he's less likely to get into trouble. The only time we see black men growing up and getting into a lot of trouble is when they're single mother raised. Now, the reason why this is, in my personal opinion, because I can't really quantify it, is because the women of today are not really taking the time to actually teach those children. They're actually zoning out. They have the children in the household running buck wild, they go outside, they run buck wild, and they're not really playing a heavy role in those children's lives. So that's what's going on culturally.
Yeah, but the question is, I'm sorry, I'm trying to look at this number. So here, this is like, because I've never looked at like this particular data before, but listed someone here, apparently 32% of black newborns have no father listed on the birth certificate. Now, this is just Cook County, Illinois, but
damn,
one part.
That is one part. Do you have any numbers on how many black fathers are listed on the birth certificate?
I know that I have numbers on how many children are awarded custody to their mother. I know that.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything.
I still have 90%. You have 30%.
Yeah, but you don't know why the number is 90%. That's
correct.
The whole part of that conversation.
That's a good point.
And you don't know why that number's 30%.
Yeah, no, that's just getting petty now.
Well, is it because
maybe the mom told him the wrong hospital? I mean, if you're just making up, we both can make up numbers.
Okay. I can't think of many reasons why somebody wouldn't be on a birth certificate. If you can't, well, maybe the father dies. I don't know. That'd be a reason to give up. I can't think of many reasons why. If you can think of something, that's fine.
I really wonder what would be the number of other races. Hopefully they talk about that, because 30% is goddamn crazy. 30%. You know what's so crazy? Like when I hear 30%, I did a story not too long ago where these street strumpets went down to Miami for the weekend and they all came back pregnant. Y'all remember that video? Pregnant. They all came back pregnant. And it's just like they were kind of just like showing it off on Instagram and shit like that. And they all don't know who the fathers of their kids are. That's in that 30%. That's in that 30%. So when Angryman talks about a culture surrounded this shit, you know, there used to be a time and a place where that was shunned against. There used to be a time and a place where that was shunned.
I can give you a couple reasons. I can give you a couple reasons.
A reason why 90% of custody should be awarded to women.
I can give you a ton of reasons right now. Because women tend to be primary caregivers for children. Courts tend to prioritize the well-being of the child, and a lot of fathers that fuck a woman might just end up leaving completely. So there's like,
how do you know the last one?
How do I know that fathers are more likely to leave mothers than mothers are?
How do you know that in the with the 90 with something that is that radical, with 90% to 10%, right? How do you know that every single one of those was a father that just did not want to be there? Okay, so if it's 90%, how do you know if even half of those were a father that just did not want to be in the child's life?
I don't know I don't know what the exact numbers are. If you're going to tell me that some men fight custody battles and they should win, but they lose because of a gender bias, that probably happens for sure. But when you look at a number like 90-10, that's not all sexism. A lot of that is going to be people awarded to mothers because the mother is the primary caregiver in that situation.
Well, here's
I don't
the
even
thing.
know if the
Here's the
90%
thing. When it
figure is
comes to-
accurate.
when it
I'm trying to
comes
find
to-
I'm trying to find a number.
I think it's like
Look,
last time I
look,
checked, 90%. I'm rounding up, and I think it's like 88 or 89.
When if you want to know where
up.
if you want to know where the 90% comes from, it's very simple. There are a lot of practices that go on in the court system that are still reminiscent of the past. It's still archaic. Okay, it's no different than the freaking marriage license. It's no different than any of that. We're still operating under the presumption that women are going to be better caregivers. That's the main reason. They automatically assume that when two people separate, the woman is going to remain in the house and the man is going to leave the house. So the court system does not want to uproot the child out of the house that they're used to living in and put them in another house. That's the reason for that. Now, hold on. Let me say this. For the 32%, that are not on the birth certificates, there's a few things that could be. One, the main reason is they could not know who the damn father is. That's one of the reasons. One of the reasons is you got so much promiscuity, because here's the thing. When it comes to black culture specifically, there are two things that are being promoted in our music, which has a huge effect on our culture, which is for the guys, gang culture, crime, drug dealing is constantly promoted. For the girls, promiscuity, acting like thoughts, that is constantly promoted.
Masculine behavior.
So when you have that going on, you have more young boys that are more prone to go out here and be part of gangs because they want to be part of something, or to go out here and sell drugs because they may have grown up with a mom that didn't have any money. And the other part of this is women tend to, when they're single mothers, they tend to look at their sons as a meal ticket. Oh, he's going to grow up and go do this, or he's going to go out and go do this and help with the household because that's the little man of the house, right? So you got that going on. On the flip side of that, you got the girls growing up, going out here, getting into the party lifestyle, all of that different stuff, getting pregnant. Sometimes they don't even know who the damn father is. Why do you think you had the emergence of these goofy shows back in the 90s where you are not the father, all of that goofy stuff? There's a lot of stuff that factors into that.
Okay, so nothing you told me can be proven, right? There's no number, there's no data. It's just like your stories. I can try to find stuff. I'm just digging around to see. But like, so here's a couple of things that I found, right?
You just gotta just go sit Destiny in the hood for like a solid week and a half. Shout out to Warlord Zero. Oh, Warlord, what's good, my G? It's Warlord McNasty. That's your IG name? All right, I'll look for you, Mr. McNasty. Shout out, brother, for the $20 super chat. Shout out to Living Weapon Iron Fist. First, I am listening to my son's birth papers, but I teach him that black men have to claw to get a seat at the table. That's facts. And fight harder just to succeed. Shout out, my brother. Appreciate the $5 super chat. Shout out to T. Lee with a $5 super chat. Destiny has them arguing about a black woman with a white man with no hood experience. Yeah, a lot of the trends that Angryman is talking about, there are no numbers associated with them. But, you know, we can't just outright negate anecdotal experiences at the same junction. Like I gave the Maury example, he just gave the Maury example. Then you are not the father example as well. It's things that have had quite a negative infliction on the culture without figureheads at the top to be like, no, this ain't happening. Shit. Now, Kanye, this is a bad example, but Kanye say some shit about the Jewish community. What do? They cancel the motherfucker. Can the same thing be said about things that, you know, paint black men as shit? The color, shout out to Kevin Samuels, he used to talk about this. The color purple did more harm to the black male image than any other movie that I can think of. That created a revisionist history of monsters, of men within relationships during that time period of life. Created it. Don't you think that has some type of infliction people both in your race as well as out of. To be honest with you, I'm surprised I'm talking about race this much on this channel. It's not something I generally talk about over here, but you know, it is what it is. You know, you guys are here for the live stream, so we're going to talk about it. Let go.
This is talking specifically about like that 90% figure. That the certain men's rights groups have made the claim, and now the fucking page. Certain men's rights groups have made this claim. It seems obvious enough, given that it's that Chicago Tribune thing that I linked. It seems this fucking dog shit. Hold on.
All right. You still don't know what an NFT is, but we got you.
It's all right. I can. If you need me to tell you what an NFT is,
that's my favorite episode with him, with the NFT.
Jesus. Okay. Certain men's rights groups have repeatedly made this claim, okay, that mothers have an automatic advantage in custody cases. It seems obvious enough given that more than 90% of the children of divorced and single parents live with their mothers. But there's more to that statistic than meets the eye. Most divorcing or single fathers, roughly 90%, never ask for custody.
There's a whole bunch of...
In contested divorce and parentage custody cases, however, the father wins 60% of the time. So if that's true, that completely blows up your entire narrative.
Would you like me to ask? Would you like me to answer why that is?
Yeah, let me see.
Because I can tell you why that is if you really want to know. Because I had
they
this.
Don't go to court because they don't have the funds or whatnot. But
they don't. Here's the thing.
Wait, and single moms do have the funds to go to court?
Here's the thing. No, wait a minute. Here's the thing. Because I had this issue when I first got on YouTube in 2015. There was a guy that I used to deal with that would actually help guys go to court. And the problem he kept encountering is most guys did not want to go to court to fight for custody because they believed they would automatically lose.
But 60% win. Most
but they don't
win
know that. This is the point I'm trying to.
That's another fault of black men. That's more black men problems. They don't know that then.
Wait, hold on. Listen to what I'm saying. Not saying it's not their fault that they don't understand or educate themselves on what they can do in the court system. But you have to realize, for black men culturally, the court is a place where they believe they're always going to lose. Okay, that's just a cultural thing. All right, we can't get around that. Now, I constantly
there's no way to get around that.
No, I'm saying we can't get around the fact that is a cultural thing they believe. Now, I constantly tell guys on my channel that you can go to court and win, and there are a lot of guys in the space that we're talking about who have went to court and won custody of their children. But most guys do not believe that they can do it. They believe that that's going to be a hard fight. In addition to the fact that the court system plays a lot of dirty tricks. A prime example is when a woman first goes to get child support. She goes to the court. She signs a affidavit. This affidavit states clearly that she has not received a single dollar from the named father, whoever she names as the father. She's saying that she's never seen a dollar from him. He's never given any support. Now, that initial court date, if the father is able to go to that court date and prove that he's given some money, then he'll win that case because she signed the affidavit. The problem is they don't serve fathers on that initial court date. And I know this because I went through it. You don't even know about that court date. If you're lucky enough to know about that court date, you can go and fight it. But what happens is you don't get served by a process server for that court date. Half the time, these fathers don't even know they're on child support until one day they look at their check and money's missing. And they're like, what's going on? Then they contact the child support division to find out what's going on. And it's like, oh, you owe child support. Then they give them then they say, okay, well, when did this happen? Oh, well, you had a court
okay, hold
date.
On. This sounds like completely not true because of my personal experience. Hold on, wait, real quick, because I'm just looking this up. So this is saying that like when you're doing like custody battles, you are right that the court won't serve the person, but that's because it's your responsibility. If you're not going to have your wages garnished for child support when you were never served anything. There's no possible way that's true.
No,
and this is saying here that if the other parent is not served within
true.
120 days, your complaint will be dismissed.
That is true.
You'll have to start all
You don't
over.
even know. Hold on. See, you don't know because you didn't go through it. Okay, number one.
I can't argue against your story. I can only go by like what's true, but I can see like
Number one, wait a minute. Number one, here's the reality. You will get served papers after you owe child support. You'll get served, but the initial court date, You rarely ever get served those papers. They will not track you down, is what I'm saying. They will not track you down for you to come to that initial court date. And the reality is, this has happened to me a couple of times because I kept having the same issue where I'm like, okay, I'm taking care of my children, but then she goes to the court to do whatever. I don't get the initial paperwork. Then when I go to court, I have to explain this to the judge. I did not get the initial paperwork.
Okay, real quick, because we don't need the whole process explained. So I just want to understand this. You're telling me that you could have two people living together, everything is chill. One person could sneak off to court. They could file for sole custody, go back home to the other parent, and months in it, everything can pass, and that whole process can be done without service ever being given to the party whose custody is being contested against.
Yes.
Holy
yes. You can look. Here's the thing. They have what is called a TANF check, right? A woman can go and she can apply for a TANF check. And the reason why she's applying for this check is she's saying, I don't know who the father of my child is, right? Or the father of my child is not around. I don't know where he's at, right? So they'll say, okay, we'll give you this check. They'll give them that check for, I think the process is a year, right? But the amount of money that they get for that year is the equivalent of child support. And that money is stacked against the father in arrears. Now, that once that year is up, that check literally stops and it converts into a child support case. He's never went to court.
Whoa.
There are dudes that are in households with women that went and did this because they didn't know any better. And now the guy that is living in the house with the woman owes child support to the woman that's in the same household as him.
I'm just trying to find like any like external thing. I'm just curious.
Yo, the court system is screwed up, bro. When it comes to child support, it is screwed up and it is biased.
Guys, if this is not your wake-up call of how much that you should be protecting your seed, then I don't know what is. This shit is stressful. Shout out to Leon with a $10 super chat. Simply put, BW have babies with every race of men. Destiny make it seem like every baby comes from BM. Shout out to Leon. Shout out to Unsolicited Security Boss, sponsor of today's stream. Now going forward with the $60 super chat. Shout out to MTR. I love your content. Thank you for viewing this. I can finally hear Angryman because he's not so angry and condescending in this conversation. You know, I was just about to comment on that. You know, being the first time that I've watched the brother, I'm like, why do they call him Angryman? This is actually a really dope conversation. But does he normally scream and shit? Like, well, hopefully he keeps it here because I think that the way that he's able to convey himself was able to push this conversation a lot further to the extent of really challenging Destiny right here. So shout out Unsolicited Security Boss. Appreciate the $60 super chat. And shout out again to Michael, the admin. Shout out to the ladies sponsoring the show tonight. Sheesh, yeah, the ladies coming through. Shout out. All right, let's go.
Can I just address one of the articles Destiny put in the chat or the private chat?
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
I think it's the Chicago Tribune. One of the
There's another brother
talking
right?
about the 60% of the time, you know, the others, if they fight, they win. It mentions here that some of that 60% is a vote for the fathers are most likely to seek custody when the mother is egregiously unfit or dysfunctional.
Yeah.
And then it leads on to, after that, many of the other cases result from the mother's financial inability to support the child.
Wait, either I'm lagging or
Of
he's
course,
lagging. I can't understand.
related to the fathers.
You have to sway. You have to.
Which part? This last part?
Yeah, you're going in and out, bro.
Okay, so it says.
Yeah, this.
Because I just read it too. Yeah, you're wrong, Destiny.
Hold on, let me try to
What
skip
am I
this
wrong
part.
You're wrong for citing this, right? It's saying that the 60% is accounted by, that comes from people that are already married. In contested divorce custody cases, the father wins 60% of the time. We're not talking about cases where they're married.
No. The other comparison thing was uncontested. If 90% of children of divorced single parents are living with their moms, and that's all uncontested because the dad never asked, well then of course that has nothing to do with the court. So that just goes to show that 90% of those time the children wanted to live with the mom.
But the point that you just
You know, we need a TLA in this conversation. We need a lead attorney in this conversation. Shout out to J Doe, $5 super chat. Please stop. Don't mind Uncle J Doe. He loves the caps locks button. Okay, leave Uncle alone. Let him write in his caps locks. All right. Please stop all. Sorry, I gotta scream it if it's all in caps. You know what I'm saying? Please stop all the vet them cap ish. You got broads who have both parents and are ex-wives who do this ish out of spite and feelings and emotions! Exclamation point. Shout out to Unc. Appreciate the $5 super chat, my G. All right, let go.
It's made from this Chicago Tribune thing was that women were awarded or men were awarded custody 60% of the time. Those are from divorce cases. Those are from cases where people have already been married. So you're ruling out and if we're talking about the black community, you're ruling out a lot of those children that were born out of wedlock, which we know is the majority.
Hold on, this even what you're saying is not true. If you read the sentence, it says in contested divorce and parentage custody cases. It's accounting for that's divorce and parentage cases. So those are two.
Okay.
So I'll be honest.
My problem with this article though is they'll try.
This portion of the conversation is boring me a little bit. Let me try to skip a little bit in ahead.
I didn't.
It says you have to serve papers, but is that look? There's a difference between service, right? One version of serving papers is delivering it, but another version is you got to sign for it. Okay. What I've noticed is that initial case, they went on with the case without me signing anything. Now, after that, when I had subsequent cases, I had to sign for the service. I had to sign for the paperwork. Okay. So I don't know what jurisdiction you're in, but in different jurisdictions, they do things differently, right? Everybody knows different jurisdictions have different child support crap.
I live in Florida now. I know what Florida law is. When I was in Nebraska, I've had people serve me papers before. Service to me has required acknowledgement. Now, I could be wrong, and if somebody links me or whatever, I'll be like, okay, it's different here. Because it might be, I don't know the law everywhere. I agree with that 100%. But I would be surprised. You're telling me there are states where legal service can be dropping something off in a mailbox? And that's like service? I've served you papers? Because this is why, like in movies and shows and everything, someone will find you at work, but like, hey, here you go, you've been served, like you have these papers.
Yeah, but if you notice, look, I don't know what's going on. Like I have an issue with it because I feel like service means that I should be signing for something, but every single time that has happened to me, and I'm not the only guy. I've had other guys tell me the same thing. That initial court date, the one where they could actually contest it. They didn't get service. They didn't even know. They didn't even know until after they owed it. And it's crazy because what happens, just like Sway just said, you know, when you don't know or you actually get locked up for it, whatever, you're not really locked up for child support. You're locked up for failing to adhere to a court order, right? That's the loophole because they're not supposed to be locking you up for owing child support. But
in California, you have to do. I mean, like if something happened to you, maybe you missed it, or maybe something happened, or I can't speak to your personal story.
Yeah.
But like in every state I'm looking up, like according to the judicial branch of California, the party who chooses to begin the legal process must notify the other and must do so through the service of papers. Within the context of child custody, the parent seeking custody has to serve copies of their filed paperwork to the other parent. Like,
okay,
I don't think you can just like say like, oh, I served them and now they're garnished and now they're getting locked up for child support.
We're dealing with the court system. And when you're dealing with the court system, there's a whole lot of loopholes that are used for numerous purposes. And like Patriarchy said a second ago, it is biased in favor of the women. It just
I don't believe any of this. If you guys want to like link me something, whatever, that's fine. But we can't just keep saying it's biased. It's my story.
Destiny, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
The link that you just.
Okay. So I don't want to go over the link.
But as a combination,
women were the backbone of that. Because if you.
Black people in the 50s and the 60s had one of the highest marriage rates. Black people in the 50s and the 60s had community. Okay. It isn't until after you see the emergence of this new form of a welfare system that you begin to see the degradation of the black family. And
the welfare system is a response to like.
It's a response to poverty. It's a response to the poverty that black people as a whole were enduring.
But you can't blame single moms for wanting welfare.
No, I'm not blaming them.
Kids.
I'm not.
And you can't blame the 93 crime bill for issues in the black community. The black community wanted the 93 crime bill.
Wait, hold on. Number one, Number one, I'm not blaming black women for wanting welfare, because they were in the 60s, they were in a state where they needed it. What I can blame them for is once they saw how it was disproportionately affecting their community, I can blame them for creating a lifestyle choice to be on welfare. In this day and age, you have black people that are on welfare as a choice. They are able-bodied and they can do something else, but they're choosing not to. So I can blame them for that. I can blame our system for incentivizing having children. Now, as far as the 93 crime bill, I'm not saying, oh, that black people didn't ask for it. Yeah, the Congressional Black Caucus, which many of them do not even really represent us. Okay, that's number one. Hold on. Wait. Let me say this.
That was a W for Angryman.
They do not represent our best interests. Okay, now I can blame the 93 crime bill for mass incarceration, and I'm not the only one who has blamed the 93 crime bill for mass incarceration, not just of black people, but Americans in general. So no, that wasn't solving a problem. Okay.
Well, crime did go down though. Like I gotta be honest.
Of course, it's gonna go down.
Hold on a second. The thing is this, right? I'll be that. I'll be a coon. Listen. At the end of the day, whatever's gonna make the crime go down, I'm pro crime bill. Right? I think that
these people on drugs, and he knows he can sell drugs to make money to feed himself. That's no different than these people going down there to the office to get welfare. I'm not saying it's right.
I'm the liberal here. I agree with you. Okay, 100%. The situations are fucked up. The only thing I'm pushing back on is blaming just the black women. I think everybody's got their responsibility for all the issues that happen, women and men alike.
I think the frustration with saying like blaming just the black women, bro. Black men have been the blame of the black community's failure for the past 60 to 80 years. Before I was born, I've been hearing this shit since I was a child, that black men ain't shit, we ain't done nothing, all the negative stereotypes about us since I was a child. And then now we start talking about the discretions and issues we've had with black women for the past 60 years, for 2 years, and everybody's like, oh,
hit on the like button.
Talking way too much about the black women and you are attacking us. Like, bro, we're trying to work through our issues and come to a resolution. But like you said, Destiny, as much as, you know, I think, I don't know where Angryman is, but personally, I don't literally blame the white man for a lot of our problems. I mean, if we want to talk about a welfare system, when the welfare system was being implemented, they had us
need a man. Black men ain't shit. Y'all ain't hitting on nothing. Blase blah. See, this is no longer about statistics. This has become a cultural trend for black women to be against black men.
Yeah, and that's shitty, and I agree with you.
Okay.
But again, like, sometimes what's sold in culture is like, what is a successful black man? Somebody that finds a really hot white woman. Look at Deion Sanders. Look at Deion Sanders, who walked away from that HBCU to go coach at fucking Colorado or whatever, right? Instead of staying,
which he should have.
He was demonized for that.
That's civil rights. But I'm just saying, that's civil rights, though. It was all
I know, but I'm
black
just saying
people getting away from other black people.
Well, but I don't think I feel like the people.
Angryman, the next time you have a conversation with Destiny, it's got to be just you and Destiny. It's really tough and hard to follow.
I don't think that people like that appearance, right? Usually the idea is that people kind of help their communities and get back and do what they can to like elevate their communities. But it feels like the success path for a lot of really successful black men is getting as far fucked away from their community as possible.
And you know why? You know why this is? Because this happens because when you have guys like a Nipsey Hussle who tries to turn his life around and try to do something positive. He's in a relationship with a black woman. You know, he tries to create a center to help kids get into STEM program. He tries to put money back in his community, and he gets killed by his own community. It happens over and over again. So what's happening is you have black men who become successful, and the reason why they leave their communities is because their communities have been constantly dealing with so much poverty that by the time one person or a small percentage of guys actually achieve some real level of success, they immediately become a target. They immediately become the victim of their own community. The problem is, as long as we continue to have the same issues, and I remember I watched one of your debates. You debated ABL, you debated Anthony Brian Logan, and you pointed out something that I was like, oh shit, that's a very good point, where you said part of the reason that the black community might have issues is because we don't really have a lot of after school programs. We don't really have a lot of places for these kids to be. And what they end up doing, and this is me adding to that, what they end up doing is they end up becoming, being part of gangs and getting into trouble and all of these different things. So the problem that we have in the black community, I have told everybody over and over again, is that we don't participate in our local elections, and two, we don't really have a family structure anymore that's raising children properly. Now, if you really want to point the blame when it comes to that, yeah, you can say, oh, the fathers are not there, blah, blah, blah. But we are ignoring the fact that the mothers are there. And there used to be a time where even when there was a single black mother, she still raised well-rounded adults that were able to function in society without being criminals. But nowadays you don't see that, and you don't see that because there is a failure going on amongst black women who are single mothers, and nobody wants to acknowledge it because, like always, we still have the same mindset that we've always had throughout history, which is whenever a woman is perceived to be attacked, then everybody has to protect that woman. Instead of holding her accountable. Men, we can talk all day about what black men are doing wrong. Black men are being held accountable. Black men are going to jail for owing child support. Black men are being incarcerated for committing crimes and selling drugs. Women, however, are doing a lot of goofiness, being very neglectful to their children, and they're not getting any sort of reprimanding. They're not getting any sort of punishment for it.
If anything, they're getting a lot of America in general just gives praise to women's recycled.
Sorry,
man.
See what
the
Destiny
Angryman,
says.
okay? So I agree with you when there are issues that successful black people have to face that I don't ever have to think about, right? I don't have to think about like trying to leave my community if I become wealthy because I'm going to get killed or some crazy shit like that, right? I acknowledge those are problems that exist, 100%. But if that is the case, that if you become successful as a black person and you want to bounce because you're worried that you're going to get fucked for staying somewhere, how do you not see that wouldn't create like a fuck ton of resentment in the black women of the community if all of the successful black men want to leave?
I
right?
never said it didn't.
Okay,
I totally agree. I never said it didn't. There are a lot of, I hear all of the complaints of black women.
Wait, let me just respond to the other things real quick too, right? The other thing you were talking about for the black women are, making poor choices or whatever. It seems like black women are slowly carving their path out, but their path out is literally like them abandoning the black community too, where you've got a lot of them, we'll talk about like divesting, where black women get abortions more than any other class of people, which I think hurts the welfare seeking point, because if they were seeking welfare, I don't know why so many of them get abortions. And black women are starting to attend college more, and they're starting to get better jobs. We're starting to close that income gap with black men. But in this scenario, there are like paths to success for black men and black women, but because of the rhetoric where black women are constantly shitting on black men because their baby daddy left them, because they got hurt by some black dude, where they tell their black sons that they ain't shit their entire fucking lives, and now these guys are growing up with their minds fucked, right? That's not good. But then black men constantly attacking black women, saying, these women are fucking shit, they've been shitting us their whole lives, they hold us accountable for every fucking thing. Meanwhile, when they fuck up, they get welfare, they get housing, they get everything handed to them, and then we're demonized for it. This world of like adversarial shit is just making it so that really successful black men and successful black women, their goal is to just get the fuck out of the black community. And that type of overall divestment where every
I'm sorry, I had to pause right there. I'm impressed with how much he picked up within that time. He picked up a lot within that time. I mean, that was a good summary. I mean,
everybody's an enemy and everybody wants to get the fuck out. That just seems to be like a really bad path to go down.
Why?
Well,
because I'm gonna sound like a cock, I guess, or I don't know. Like, I would want to see like the black community completely fucking destroyed because all of the
But Destiny, that's the future though. That's the future. That's progressive. That's what we need, right?
He's definitely listening.
We're not woke. No, we fight for us to stay together. Like I said, a lot of people in this space don't like Fresh and Fit. I know you've been hanging out with them and you like
Sure, that's the community to them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't really fuck with them, nor do we agree with them. A lot of times we want
Some of the stuff
come
they say.
to some of the stuff they say, but the whole like the anger part that they give with the incel energy, cool. We don't really fuck with that. We hold black men accountable for our actions. We just hope black women can come to the table doing the same thing, where we can come to resolutions instead of trying to compromise and we both leave unhappy.
Yeah, sure. I think that'd be a good thing. Just as a warning, I've got something I've got to leave in like 5 or 10 minutes, so I don't want to feel like I'm running away.
I'm not gonna keep you. I appreciate you for coming through.
I don't think it can work. I think the best thing is
it just needs to come to a stop. And if I had the power to, I would abolish the welfare program. Like that would literally solve the problem immediately.
I will agree with you that there's like a lot of goofiness, but like, don't you think there's something to be said for the fact that there was a group of people that was enslaved in a country for over 100 years and civil rights as fuck for however long until 64. But despite all of those setbacks, black culture has become, in a lot of ways, like almost the predominant culture of the world.
Yeah.
That America's most important contribution to music arguably is jazz and rock and roll. It came from black people. That the most popular form of music today is rap and hip hop all over the world. I can go to any country in the world and hear Kanye West. Well, maybe not Kanye anymore, right? But I hear like rappers like all over the world being played. Like, I don't know, it feels like throwing all of that away because there are problems right now and just saying fuck it. When there are so many unique contributions to like the world community from like the African Americans in the United States.
We already wait a minute. We already threw it away. And the reason why I say that, I had this discussion the other day. We already threw it away because if I were to have a conversation with the average black person, the average young black person today, they're not going to know black people's contribution to jazz. They're not going to know black people's. If I asked them, name 5 jazz musicians that were black, they're not going to be able to tell me. If I ask them who Ernie Barnes is, they're not going to be able to tell me. Like black people have already tossed away the best part of our culture. They've already tossed it away. There's only a few of us. There's only a handful of us out here. When I say a handful, I mean a small percentage. There's only a small percentage of us that actually still value all of those things. Now what we value, now what we're starting to be known for is gang culture, going to prison, twerking, and all this ignorant shit. Like it's unfortunate, but it's the reality.
Black history in America right now only goes back.
Nah, that's still my favorite. That's always gonna be
shortcut. It's a, it's a way.
Looks like
to
Destiny left.
Yeah, man.
Oh,
I can't stand that dude, man.
Let's see. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, man.
Red Spill, Manosphere Space. He's been
all right.
I was kind of shocked when y'all two had that interaction on Bernard, but I was even more shocked that he was on Bernard's first. When I saw your little, clickbait, I thought he was on your channel. I was like, oh, shit, on Angryman? But he was on Bernard's. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
how the hell did he get over there?
All right. Let me get this off the screen. Let me see if there's any other last super chat. Shout out to Jack Frost. $5 super chat. I hate that Destiny only attributes black success to music and sports. We as a community need to value intellects more. That you hate that he attributes. I don't think it's just him, though. Right? I don't think it's just him. That there's a thought about sweat equity and not about intellectual equity. Just like I talked about earlier in the stream, it's not cool to be smart. It's not cool to do well on your tests. It's not cool to be educated. It's not cool to go outside your box, outside of your neighborhood. It's not cool to travel. It's not cool to go snowboarding. It's not cool to watch anime. It's not cool. It's not cool. It's not cool. It's not cool. All of the things that can make us unique and diverse and expand our horizons are often combated within it. And I mean, that's just is what it is, what it is. That's why I tell you guys, just fight against that shit as much as what you possibly can. Anyway, inevitably, shout out to everybody that came through for the discussion. Shout out to Destiny. Shout out to Angryman. I thought that was a fantastic conversation, and I'm really happy that I took the opportunity to come up here and bring it to this platform as well. So, go and check out their content as well. I'm sure that the majority of their content consists within that general reign. I will say that I was a bit out of my league during this discussion, but I still had a lot of bit of fun today. You know what I'm saying? But happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. If you're new to the stream, my name is MTR, Mediocre Tourism Reviews. It's a pleasure to meet you. Introduce yourself to the MT Almanac. They're down in the chat right over there. All right? Guys, tomorrow Put a one down in the chat if you guys want me to go live again. If you think I should keep on doing this live streaming shit, put a one down in the chat if you guys want me to go live tomorrow or more often. Put a two down into the chat if you're like, nah, I don't bang with the live streams. Do much more of the pre-recorded content. Put a one down to the chat if you like, yo, keep on going live. Put a two down if you like, nah. Also, guys, don't forget to look at the content that's on the channel. I dropped a video earlier today with me and Medley, the round 2, the second portion of that conversation. I want to do much more Red Cup talks as well, where I have someone sitting right next to me and we conduct the conversation the best way that we know how. Shout out to the future content that's coming to the channel as well. Shout out to the recent collab I just did with Just Pearly Things down in Miami. We had a fantastic conversation. We did a one-on-one as well as we did like a video up on the beach, on Miami Beach. If you haven't seen it yet, go and check it out. And let me know as well. Okay, I see a bunch of ones that's down into the building. I got to come back up here for you guys as well. Do you guys want me to go over me and that Just Pearly Things conversation on a live stream? Put a 1 if you want me to go over that conversation. Put a 2 if you do not want me to go over the Just Pearly Things conversation. There was 2 of them. There was one on the beach in Miami, and then the other one was a one-on-one. Oh, I keep on saying ones. I thought you guys were going to say 2s for that. I guess it would be fun for me to go because I can go over some of the background of like what was happening like behind the scenes and shit like that. Maybe be able to elaborate on some different points and shit. Okay. I see. All right. The chat has spoken. All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Sundays. Until next time, YouTube.